Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Anna Braun.
Here.
Timothy Cummings.
Here.
Antonetta Vola.
Here.
Jamie Falco. Louis Figueroa.
Here.
Lori Herrick.
Here.
Lee Woo Hung.
Here.
Wilbur Pan.
Here.
Mary Ann Tenius.
Here. Please rise to salute the flag. Okay. We have a need for a closed session, whereas the Board of Education must discuss matters which are not appropriate for discussion in a public meeting, and whereas these subjects are within the exceptions to the Open Public Meetings Act and are permitted to be discussed in closed session pursuant to NJSA 10-4-12B, and whereas the Board of Education intends to discuss matters listed in the agenda, whereas the length of the closed session is estimated to be 1 hour, after which the public meeting of the board shall reconvene and action will be taken. Now therefore be it resolved that the East Brunswick Board of Ed will recess into closed session for only the aforesaid subjects, and be it further resolved that the East Brunswick Board of Ed hereby declares that its discussion of the aforesaid subjects will be made public at a time when the public's interest in disclosure is greater than any privacy or governmental interest being protected from disclosure in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Do we have a motion?
Move.
Jamie's not here. Wilbur and then Lee will. Yeah. Discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. We are enclosed. Good evening, everyone.
One second.
Oh,
One second. There you go.
okay. Good evening, everyone. We are back from closed session. Before we begin, Dr. Falco extends her apologies. She couldn't join us this evening. And before we actually begin, I just wanted to shed some light on some feedback that we've been getting. I've been approached and told, oh, we have insider information. And, being board president and being board members, I don't know how much more insider it can get than that. So we didn't have this information. So I just want to clear the air on some things that have been shared regarding redistricting. If you watched our last board meeting on February 5th, we had a demographer here. So to clarify, that was a demography report. That was not a proposal. And what a demography report is, it's informative, it's descriptive, it answers the question of what does the data show. A proposal, which we did not have, would have been a plan. So that's prescriptive, and it would have said, what should we do about the data? Like we said in that meeting, any sort of redistricting, and again, that was just a report, that was not a proposal. Any sort of redistricting would not happen for the 26-27 school year, meaning if any student is a current third or fourth grader, that would not impact them at all. As Dr. Mammon said last time, that was step one of many. So that was the first time we all saw it as a board, as this current board. That was the first time we were seeing anything on a demography. We did state that every effort would be made to grandfather students in. It is not our intent to yank kids out. And we would be, at the time when we're ready to finally put together a proposal, include the community for feedback. So those were all things we said in that meeting. Additionally, the maps weren't even visible to us, so we couldn't see exact streets. Again, it was just a report, not a proposal. I just want to say on a personal note, my children attended Central even though I live within walking distance of Warnsdorfer. So redistricting is something that I am very familiar with. I know that a lot of our board members have experience with redistricting as well. I may be new to this role. The board is fairly new overall, but we are not inexperienced in what we are doing, and we are definitely not inexperienced in our commitment to this community and being members of this community. And we take that very seriously, and we treat every child as our own. And I will open the floor if anybody, Dr. Figueroa, please go ahead.
Just a quick comment on that. I do think that
we are going to experience some growing pains. We have new leadership. We have new board members. We're going hopefully in a more positive direction for this community. But I think in the past, sometimes it wasn't as evident that we were trying to go in the right direction. I do think with this board, and I could speak as a community member for a long time, from working here as well as now a board member, this is a fantastic board with a fantastic administration, and they're looking to do the right thing, and we're looking to make positive change. What we saw, as was so aptly said by Dr. Tanyos a few moments ago, we saw something that was from the demographer. You will have ample time in anything that happens in the future. We want that. We truly want that community input. I think that might be something different from the past, where that community input wasn't really accepted as openly. I think what you see here is what you get. So sometimes we might show you something, or a demographer, you might get information. That's just information. If it's going to be a proposal, you will know it. And we're all very accessible. I could speak for everyone that I know here, whether you're administration or board member. We're all accessible. We all want the same thing. We want to see this district move forward for our children. And that's so important for us. So I want to thank you, Dr. Tanyos, for saying giving your comments. And I just want to make sure everyone understands that, there's when we talk about being open and forthright, that's what you're going to get. There might be times you go, oh, wow, phew, didn't realize that. You guys really gave us a lot of information. That might happen sometimes too, but we'd rather you have that information than not have it and feel like we're hiding something. So, okay, I just wanted to make sure this community deserves to hear that, because you've been through a lot. I think we all have at certain times, and I think that moving forward in a positive direction for our children and supporting our staff is so important at this time, and I think that's where we need to go. So thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. It's good to see you here. Just to reiterate, there's no insider information coming out of anyone. No, I'm not talking to anybody. Well, whoever is feeding you information is wrong and grossly mistaken. If you're not hearing it from me, it is incorrect. I do not do Facebook. So if you have a question, just come here, ask, or email. It's a good thing that we record our meetings, so you could go back to minute, I can't remember, I had
56
minute.
minute. I answered that question multiple times.
When I got the emails from the memorial community, I was like, did I make a mistake and say 26, 27 when it was supposed to be 27, 28? I could have sworn that we said this, and that. So I do not know where all of that information was coming from, but clearly I took it seriously enough for me to respond and say, don't stress yourself out. It is incorrect. And you're hearing from me, and this is what it is, right? And I'm putting it in writing, sending it to you because I care about what you think. And I just hope that as you get to know me and to Dr. Figueroa, what you see is what you get. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is I'm doing and why we're doing what we're doing. We may not always agree, but certainly we can understand. And so if this, because I felt your pain, I'm like, why is this happening? Come talk to me. Come to the board meeting. There's nobody has insider information other than my board president, who I talk to often. We talk often. The board talks often, right? We have a standing meeting. We have standing members. We've established a communication protocol, because what I heard from the community is that they wanted clear communication and transparency. So we shared the report. And at the beginning of the report, I said, no one has seen this. I wanted us all to experience it in real time. So I don't know what else to do. So please, when people tell you stuff, don't believe them. Because in the absence of knowledge, what happens? People make stuff up. So, my bit.
Wilbur, go ahead.
Yep. So if I could, again, I'm going to reiterate the theme of what you see is what you get, because I'm actually really pretty bad at poker for that exact reason. I'm going to go one step further into why the presentation was done the way it was done. We actually have to do that sort of discussion in public. There's a thing called the OPMA, the Open Public Meetings Act. Any discussion that we as a board have has to be in public, which includes looking at preliminary pieces of information that are going to be discussed among us and with you, the public. It's just part of the process. The other thing is, the best source of information in terms of what the board is up to is to just go and look at our meetings. It's all on video. It's all there. And if you look at the video, this is what you'll find. You'll find that we ask questions about the report. All the questions that I've seen, at least via email, they all were asked at the board meeting. It's not like we didn't have questions, and we got answers. And specifically, I don't know how well this is known, but I'm actually a memorial parent. It's been a while because my kids are older, but I am a memorial parent. And one of the first things I noted was the old and new memorial school boundaries, which is why I specifically asked how much room is there to move on the slides that were presented. But since that meeting, I've actually spent a good amount of time staring at the presentation and sorting through this. And there's two things I'd like to note. Number one, all the information as to how the slides were put together are right here in the presentation. And basically, my take on the maps that we were given is that the priority here was to even out the unequal distribution of students we have among schools. And then there's a couple other things that I sorted out as I was trying to understand the information that we were given, that we are actually have a number of constraints in terms of where our elementary schools are here in East Brunswick. And among those include the fact that the schools are not distributed evenly throughout the borders of our town. You know, there's some that are, a whole bunch of them right by Route 18, not so much on the west side of East Brunswick. Housing density varies quite a bit across town, which means that if you move a street, if you move a border by one block in my neighborhood, you're going to affect more children than if you moved a street, say, around the Warnsdorfer area, or again in the west part of East Brunswick where, say, Fresh Ponds is. Because the fact is there are lots out there that you could fit multiple homes onto in that part of town. And that's going to cause a constraint in terms of what happens when you draw borders. And the schools themselves are not located in the middle of of what would be considered their home neighborhoods. Bound Monroe is a great example of that, because if you take a look at the neighborhood of the kids that go to Bound Monroe is almost on the corner of that neighborhood. So you put all these things together, and again, if the priority, to my mind, is to even out the distribution of students, then this is what you're going to get. Maybe the priority should be geographic location, which is fine. You know, we can all discuss that. And we would love to get input on that piece of information. But if that's going to be the priority, then evening out the students can't be the priority anymore, because the one is going to affect the other. So what we need to do as a community is decide what is the most important thing. Do we want one school to be overcrowded and the others not to be, so that we have more students walking? There's an argument to be made for that. Or is it better for the schools to be evenly distributed in terms of students and therefore resources, even if that may look make the map look a little weird? That there's a case to be made for that. But the main thing here is that this is just the first step, as has been said, in a multi-step process that does include community input. And I know this point has been made, but I think it really bears repeating. The most important point is that we want that input, and we're perfectly willing to engage the community in order to get that input. And I would even go as far to say is that we have a clear track record in searching out and getting that community input, because that's how we arrived at hiring our superintendent here. There was a whole lot of outreach that was done there. And there are many other examples of that, excuse me, since then, both for us as a board and I know for those of us on an individual level. So I think that would be, good to keep in mind as we go forward, because the last thing that I thought of is that redistricting has to be done. And I think it was Dr. Brown that said that the last time we redistricted it here in East Brunswick, Nixon was president. So this is something that is way overdue. And again, if you go back to the presentation, there's a map here of Central and where the students currently go to. And the word that comes to mind when I see this map is that this is just nonsense. We can't keep running a school district by hauling students all the way from down here where Cranberry crosses Dunham, all the way up to almost to where Route 18 is. That's just silly. So again, this is going to be a long and involved process, but I know that what we want to do is get it right. And by getting it right, that means getting input from the community, and that's where we're looking forward to talking to all of you about this.
Thank you. Anybody else? You want it, Dr. Brown?
Yeah, the topic of redistricting is very personal for me because I was one of the kids who got redistricted in the early 70s when Richard Nixon was president. I remember discussing the Vietnam War on the playground at Warrenstoffer, so we're talking a long time. And I still remember, that was a really long time ago, and I still vividly remember being how upset I was. And I remember my mom going to board meetings, and she was one of the people who was protesting. Because why do we have to move? We were here first. They're building these new, at the time it was
Colonial Oaks.
Colonial Oaks, yeah. Yeah, Colonial Oaks. And so, we had to move. And it's... So when I found out we were going to be talking about redistricting, I'm not going to lie, I've been having nightmares and I've been having flashbacks because I understand from a child's perspective how difficult this is, and I can't believe that we are now to this point. But the last time we had any kind of major redistricting was when, and if you don't know the history of the schools, try not to laugh too loud. Okay, there was a time in 1982 and 1983 that we had a believed decrease in student population, and it was suggested to close Irwin and Lawrenceburg or Irwin and Memorial. I mean, let that sink in for a minute. Close it. They were going to close 2 schools. So they ended up closing Irwin. And we rented it. And I say we. Do I have to say we? Yeah. They rented it. They rented it. It was rented out for 2 years as a computer center, which is really funny because you're talking 1983. What kind of computers were there? And then they were like, oh, wait, we had new developments. Oops, where are we going to put all these kids? So then Irwin was reopened. And so that was the last time that there was that sort of shuffling, and Ronald Reagan was president. So there you have it.
Yeah. So just to close this part of the meeting out, Lori, sorry, go ahead. No.
Can I just ask, thank you. What next steps are, or what next steps look like to us? So that way, I think it's clear to see what our path forward or what comes next in these discussions. I know we're waiting for the PDFs, like ones and the kind of
Cannot do anything unless we develop a strategic plan first. And that, honestly, the strategic plan, as much as I'm trying to go really fast, the strategic plan is going to involve community output. And the goal is to have a wide array of engagement across different facets of the community to then say, come together to what are the things we're seeking and how are we moving forward? The big bucket items, what do we want to see? Facilities improvement, because we've been talking about aging buildings, and we're thinking about, all the developments and the strain it puts on us. What's our academics going to look like? There's just so much that the community will have to kind of put them in big buckets. And then we start to say, okay, how do we solve this? So we're not even there yet, which I jokingly said the last day that this was step 1 of 20, but I really meant step 1 of many to come.
Okay.
So we're putting the cart before the horse, or the horse, I can't even, we're just not there. So we have to have a strategic plan. We have to map out where are we going and why. How are we going to get there? And then this can factor in. So for now, please no more emails. I'm just saying, it's not necessary.
Anybody else? No? Okay, so now to close this part out, I just want to reiterate, we do care about what the community has to say. If you still feel like you would like to say something, please come up during public portion. If you want to email us with your concerns, that's fine, but there will be a time and place for that more formally. Just to show you how much we actually care, we received only 9 emails about this, but it wouldn't have mattered if we would have received just one, because that one to us speaks volumes. So that's how much of an impact this had on us to feel like we needed to respond. And I'm glad that all the information was actually there, but we were happy to respond anyway. And I'm saying this because people were reaching out and they're like, I'm sure you've received 200 emails. I'm like, no, we've only gotten 9, just the 9. But I would like also to add, just to keep everybody in mind in the community, we did receive some emails that said, I'm actually upset that you're not redistricting this year because I don't like the way the class sizes are. And that also did come from the same school. So there are people who have multiple viewpoints, and we have to consider all of those. It can't just be the loudest voices that are going to get what they need, because that child that needs that smaller class size matters to us just as much as the children who would like to be in their home school. And that's why we all sit up here. And like Dr. Figueroa says, what you see is what you get. I truly mean that. So again, please feel free to come and share if you'd like, and continue to send the emails, if you so please, to us. Yes, to the board. Leave Dr. Manman alone. Just send them to the board. We will, and we are accessible, and we do respond. And if that means individually, fine. If it's 9 people, then we'll respond collectively. But and I did respond when it was just the first one, and then when we saw that it was many, we said, okay, let's just put out a collective response. But all right, I think we are good on this topic, and now we can move on to our superintendent's report.
Yay. This is the part I love best. There is no better way to start the day than with our students, and that's what I got up to today. And I did tell the students I was going to shout them out in my report, but I spent the morning with the Hammersholt Student Council discussing recess. And I walked away so impressed. The students have such a good plan. I couldn't even leave without saying, okay, we're going to have to figure this out for you. They done their research. They even told me they went on Amazon and checked out high quality stuff. The Gaga Pit has number 1. They want 2 of those. But it was just really good. I walked away just really impressed by their energy and just such great ideas. And I cannot wait to come back and report on the power of students when they collectively mobilize and learn and grow and put forward an actual proposal for the adults to figure out. So it was a great start to my day. My final meet and greet will be held in East Brunswick High School. If you remember, I had to reschedule this because of the snow day. So it's now February 24th at 6 p.m. If you haven't had a chance to attend one yet, I would love to see you there. I have truly enjoyed these sessions and look forward to continuing my work with our community. On Friday, okay, so this was such a good time. Clearly, I have the most fun when I'm with kids. Adults, not so much, but the kids, yes. So on February 6th, I was with Irwin Elementary students and staff. They had the Olympic Parade of Nations to showcase their cultural diversity and heritage, and it was such a good time. I loved being there. Students dressed up in their cultural clothing. They carried flags to symbolize their heritage. And at the end of the parade, students and staff gathered as a school community to celebrate and kick off the Irwin Winter Olympics. They had some fun events and some healthy competition. Some medals were awarded, and students rooted for one another, showing I was impressed by the sportsmanship and all the support they gave each other. It was really cool. To learn more about different cultures, each grade has a host nation to root for and cheer on during the Winter Olympics in Cortina, Milano. The medal count is updated daily during their morning announcements. There's a World Cultures Wall in the main hallway where students can participate in the scavenger hunt while they learn about countries other than their own. I thought this was really important to share because often you hear about what we don't do, but these are nuanced things. There's so much of fabric of our schools that if I wasn't there, for instance, if I wasn't there or it wasn't shared, then you wouldn't know. But for me, I'm committed to showcasing things like this because this is why we're here. And during lunch each day, and this is still continued all through the Winter Olympics, they watch different events from the Olympics to learn more about new sports that are unique and generally not publicized outside of the Olympics. Can you guess which one has the most interest right now? Exactly, it's curling. They have enjoyed watching the different matches. So they will conclude with a cereal box slalom where they will create, they're gonna create a giant domino rally made of cereal boxes, and then those boxes will then be donated to local food pantries. And that's amazing, just amazing. I had to share that. I know that was long about Irwin, but this is just a microcosm of what we do here. So I thought that was really cool. Our community programs department is buzzing with activities. And we have several exciting updates to share. As you can see there, this is from Central Elementary Early Learning Academy. Students rang in the Lunar New Year with a joyful gong hei fat choi. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Okay. As students explored cultural traditions, and I've been practicing, as students explored cultural traditions and celebrations. And then in other ELA, as you can see on the right, ELA preschool classrooms, the buildings study continues with a hands-on exploration of the Three Little Pigs. Students put their architectural skills to the test at the bottom right. They were designing and building homes using craft sticks, straw, and bricks, strengthening creativity, problem solving, and early engineering skills along the way. It's fun. At Frost, the after-school kids ask, students demonstrated that kindness is always in season. So in preparation for Valentine's Day, they created thoughtful handmade cards and flowers to share with others. Meanwhile, Central's early morning program was filled with creativity and cheer as students crafted festive valentines and proudly wore their handmade headbands, spreading smiles throughout the building. At their February department meeting, I thought the adults have to be a part of my superintendent's report as well. But this was particularly cool. This is Churchill Junior High School social studies and English teachers. They met across departments to share best practices in working with AI. Teachers discussed effective uses of AI in their lessons, monitoring AI-generated work, and deciding when any technology is appropriate for the goals of their lessons. These ongoing conversations allow teachers to learn more about what their colleagues are doing and create new approaches to their content areas. And in sports, East Brunswick girls swimming captured their third straight girls sectional swim team title. They defeated Ranconkas Valley. And then our senior, Dominic Lezak, won his 100th career wrestling match on Monday, February 16th. Travis Retzlaff won his 100th career game as the girls' basketball head coach at East Brunswick High School. And the girls' basketball clinched the GMC semifinal victory and will play in the GMC final on Friday, February 20th at Monroe High School against St. Thomas Aquinas at 6 p.m. Please show up and support them if you can. Great things. So join us online for Parent University. Share the keys. This is a virtual driving orientation for students and parents This takes place Wednesday, February 25th at 7 p.m. Share the Keys is a 60-minute interactive orientation program for parents and their teen drivers. STK is a research-based, data-driven program designed to reduce teen driver crash risks through increased parent involvement. Information on how to register can be found on the district website. The Hammersholt Upper Elementary School Drama Club is excited to present Willy Wonka Kid on Wednesday, March 4th, and Thursday, March 5th at 7 p.m. The cast and crew have been working incredibly hard to create a colorful and energetic performance, and they're so proud to showcase their dedication and creativity. Tickets are available at hughes.booktix.com. The EBEF will be hosting their 32nd Annual Partner in Excellence Award Dinner and Hall of Fame induction ceremony on Wednesday, April 29, 2026 at the Pines Manor in Edison. More information can be found on the ebnet.org/EFEF. I'm sorry. What time is it? More information can be found on our website /EBEF. Sorry. And Jack's here. Jack's going to let me have it for messing that one up. I apologize. Lastly, as part of our ongoing engagement of the community, I will be inviting members of our school community to express interest in participating in the school funding advocacy stakeholder group. This is focused on revisiting and advocating for improvements to New Jersey school funding formula. I am hoping that the stakeholder group will bring together a broad and representative cross-section of our community, including parents, educators, administrators, students, community members, and individuals with experience in advocacy, policy, or public engagement. Our goal here is to elevate informed voices, lived experiences, and strategic advocacy to help shape meaningful conversations and actions around fair, adequate, and predictable school funding for East Brunswick and districts like ours. So I hope you join me if you are good at any of the things I just talked about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mammon. So moving on, we have our friends here from Churchill for Learning Across the District.
Hello, I'm Lindsay Ligori, and I am the PEP Chair for the East Brunswick Education Association. Tonight marks the final evening of the East Brunswick Education Association's Learning Across the District. Nearly 10 years ago, this initiative was created in collaboration with the Board of Education leadership at that time, with the shared vision of showcasing the outstanding work happening in our schools. This evening, we are proud to highlight the exceptional achievements of our students and staff. The learning you see on display tonight is not a one-time event. It represents the meaningful, innovative work that takes place in our classrooms every single day. We could not be prouder to celebrate it with our community. The New Jersey Education Association continues to provide vital financial support for Learning Across the District and many other programs within our public schools and the broader East Brunswick community. Through the NJEA's Public Education Partnership, that's the PEP grants, and Families and Schools Together, our FAST grants, impactful initiatives that are made possible. This school year alone, the East Brunswick Education Association has awarded $70,260 to support 27 different projects taking place throughout our schools and across our township of East Brunswick. Thank you for your continued commitment to Learning Across the District. We look forward to building on this success and our application portal for the next school year, which will open in August. So now we're going to turn it over to our friends from Churchill. Thank you.
Thank you, members of the board. Dr. Mammon, and the EBEA and the NJEA for giving us the opportunity to speak about our Churchill Parent Night, Families Learning Together. This event was the culmination of many conversations with multiple stakeholders over several months. So I would first like to acknowledge the guidance and support of Christine Shea, Director of Secondary Education, who supported Dr. Daga and I in our planning and executing this event, as well as Dr. Boley and Churchill Principal Mr. Hannes, who worked behind the scenes to make this happen. And of course, the EBEA and the NJEA, who supported us with a grant to help make this all possible. We also couldn't do this without the Churchill teachers who volunteered their time and energy to connect with students and their families outside of the classroom, so I want to acknowledge and thank them as well. It was truly a team effort. Dr. Daga really wanted to be here today, but she had a prior family commitment, unfortunately, so she wasn't able to be here to share her passion for this event, but she made a video because she would not let me do it without her. So we're going to play that to share the background and the planning of the event. Oh, we have some pictures. Oh, very nice, very nice. Okay. The event in action, and now we'll hear from Dr. Daga.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Mammon, administration, parents, and my wonderful students. Thank you for the opportunity tonight to present our Churchill Parent Night. While I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person, I'm very grateful to briefly share the background and purpose behind this night. This work truly grew from ongoing conversations and observations between multiple stakeholders, including our staff, counseling services, administration, parents, and who this affects the most, our students. Particularly following the 7th grade transition from Hammarskjold to Churchill, we've noticed a consistent pattern. Our Tier 3 support students and our multilingual learners and their families need more accessible opportunities to connect with the school community. Our goal was intentional and simple for this night, for parents to understand that resources exist specifically for them and their children at Churchill. This includes support for navigating systems such as Canvas and Genesis, adjusting to new schedule changes, and addressing the learning challenges their children may experience. We also wanted families to gain a glimpse into what their students experience in their classrooms each day. And so to support this, we invited teachers who work closely with these students to share instructional games, online resources, reading and writing tools that our English language arts and our language teachers support use in their classrooms every day. Our counselors also contributed by providing executive functioning strategies and organizational supports while helping parents better understand what to anticipate as their children plan for the future. Also recognizing the importance of community partnership, we invited the East Brunswick Public Library to share resources available to our families, including tutor.com and age-appropriate books accessible to our students. Most importantly, though, we wanted to reinforce that our school is a place of partnership. What made the evening truly meaningful, though, was not the design of it itself, but the experiences of students and families who attended. Roten, Tammy, Serene, and Clara, I am so proud of your courage and willingness to share your voices tonight. You represent our school today. I'll be cheering for you. Good luck and have fun. And with that, I'm happy to turn it back to Mrs. Manners to continue tonight's presentation. Thank you.
I know. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our amazing student speakers. Oh, wait, we can't give it away yet. Okay, that's next. And our parent representative as well, since this was all about families learning together.
Hi, my name is Orotem Giran. I'm an ex-ESL student. I came to the night because I felt a lot of pressure from school because this is my first year without the ESL program. Therefore, everything is a little bit harder. So I came to the night to find tools that will help me with school. I took from the night ways and tools that can help my thoughts to be easily translated from Hebrew to English or understand math problems better. I'd like to see more English help in English-wise, more talking, reading, and writing skills involved, like more resources.
Hi, my name is Tamar. A year and a half ago, I moved from Israel to here. I came to the parents' night because I wanted and still want help with math, and I want also to speak with more kids in my age, this night, the night helped me to understand math, and I felt that I spoke to more than I always speak. My mom was was with me, and she saw and did what we learned in math. She learned. Oh, sorry, I'm just nervous. Sorry. I think we need more nights like that because the night helped me and I think more kids and to understand more math. And I really, really enjoyed. Yeah, thanks.
They're brave. And they're smart because they wrote something. So from a parent's perspective, I just want to say you talked before about redistricting. So we did a really big redistricting for our family a year and a half ago, and we moved from Israel to here, and with everything that involves. And I think that with like kind of grown kids like this, as magical as this age is, one of the downsides is that we don't get to be involved in school as much, and we don't get to, have a lot of contact with other parents. And that this evening that Miss Daga and Miss Manners created was such an opportunity for me as a parent to, get a peek for what they're doing at school. And it was very fun also. We played math games, and I got to know the teachers, and I got to know other parents, and I could exchange phone numbers and try to create, not play dates, sorry kids, not play dates, but a little more communication, which is so hard at this age. And I would really love for more things like this, because it's very difficult to come from another country and another culture and not really know how to get into the community. And I realize it's a great community, and we really want to be more part of it. And sometimes we don't know how. So evenings like this is such a great opportunity. That's it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Clara Hahn, and I'm currently in 7th grade. This is my first year in East Brunswick. Looking back, the Parent Night was the first and only school event where my mom, my 5-year-old sister, and I attended together this year. We were new to the town, new to the district, and we were happy to visit my school together as a family. There was a child care center provided so my little sister could be entertained and my mom wouldn't be too tired. We all had a great time that night. There were snacks and water there, games and free giveaways such as a planner and a whiteboard with a marker and eraser. This night really helped me the most by understanding what to expect in the school. It introduced me to the teachers, made me realize that there was homework help from the media center and resources that I didn't know existed. I recommend Parent Night to other families because it helped me understand more of the school. It made me know what to expect and where to go when I need help. I recently graduated from both math and English support, comparing to the diagnosis I took back in September to the one I just had in January. Each of my math categories, such as numbers, algebra, and fractions, improved by a grade level, if not more. For example, in September, my algebra score was 530, which meant early 5th grade. Then in January, it improved to 720, which was on par to where I'm supposed to be. I'm very happy with the result and want to take this opportunity to thank my support teacher, Ms. Daga, for helping me achieve this.
Okay. Thank you. You guys were so amazing. And we have one last thing before I wrap it all up.
Since they taught their parents a math game, we were hoping we could quickly teach you a math game. Okay, we gotta move fast, all right? So, okay, everyone gets a board, okay? Or you can do pairs, all right? Pairs, all right? Everyone needs a little counter and a die, all right? All right. They taught it to me because I'm not the math teacher here, so they can do it for you. Yes. Okay. Good. Do we have? No one has? Yeah. Wonderful.
Miss Manners, I'm going to suggest we exclude the BA because I feel it's a little unfair.
Although there's a lot of doctors up here, so I feel like if they can do it, you can do it. Okay, so explain to them how they do it.
So, first you want to answer a math question, and then you roll the dice. Let's say you rolled a 3, so 1, 2, 3. Go ahead 2 spaces. So you go ahead 2 spaces.
Mr. Cummings. Sorry. So our first question is a softball. It's an easy one. Okay. Okay. So let's see if you can answer this correctly, and then you roll the dice.
Too many.
What's the problem?
Okay, we have completed 99 school days out of 180. How many school days do we have left?
81. Okay, good. You got it right. You can roll the die and you can move. Yay. Okay, the next one is trickier. Okay, if you need whiteboards, we have whiteboards. Okay, all right.
What percent of school days we've complained?
Percentage.
They had to teach me this.
We don't have to figure this out. This is why we have.
55, is that correct? Do you remember? Yes, good job. All right, wonderful. And then you would roll and you would move. Okay, we only have 2 questions. And I do need back the dice and the counters, but you can keep these games and you can play it with your own children as well.
Thank you.
It is, yes. Okay, so I will come collect that in a minute. I'll give my little wrap up. So as you can imagine, immediately after the event and then reading the parent feedback, and especially from hearing from our students tonight, and I just have to say, Ms. Dog and I really enjoyed, even just working on this presentation and getting to know them more and hearing their feedback was really impactful. So hearing from them tonight and beyond, we're truly inspired by the impact that strengthening the school-home connection can have on students, families, and teachers alike. Looking ahead, we hope to build on this momentum by creating additional opportunities for families and students to learn together. We hope you also see the value in developing these connections between students, their families, the school, and the community. In particular, Dr. Dog and I hope to explore ways to support the transition to 7th grade, something very near and dear to our hearts, a pivotal year for both students and parents as they adjust to a new building, new technology, new schedules, and new expectations. When students are equipped with the tools and confidence to navigate these changes and families are equipped with the knowledge to support them, we create a true partnership. And when schools and families work together as a team, students are positioned not just to survive middle school, but to thrive. So, thank you.
You guys did so well. Great job. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Your English is amazing. You should be very proud of yourself. I can't imagine having to do word problems as a second language. So you should be that's incredible. Socializing at your age is difficult on its own. So to have to create new relationships and new friendships with English being your second language is challenging. So I appreciate you guys doing this. I'm a little biased with Dr. Daga. I love her so much. She was my son's math teacher. She is extremely, extremely caring teacher. She does know how to differentiate her instruction to adapt to the students in her classroom. So thank you so much for helping us. Thank you to the EBA for allowing these students to have this. And I do support this, so I hope that you guys host more of them and maybe other subjects too.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next time.
Come, please. We'll stand at the end.
Good job.
Kids in the middle.
Yeah, they did a good job. Good job. Good job. Good job, Mom.
Okay, do you want to go?
Yay.
Thank you.
We are going to call just a brief recess so our Churchill friends can go home. Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Jane couldn't be with us tonight because she's cheering, correct? She's at the game. Okay, so she's cheering. So we don't have our student representative report tonight. So we're gonna move right on to our reading pilot program update. We have Mrs. Danino.
Hello there. Wait, let me. Okay. Hello, good evening. So I'm going to start with a brief, sorry. Yep, okay. I'm going to start with a brief summary of the programs that we're piloting. The first one being being a reader. We are doing that in kindergarten through grade 5 at Central, Irwin, Memorial, Frost, and Hughes. That's being piloted with students who are also in basic skills classrooms and in class support classrooms. Then we are piloting Amplify CKLA in kindergarten through grade 5 at Warnstoffer, Chittick, Lawrencebrook, also basic skills classrooms and in-class support classrooms. And then Amplify ELA is being piloted in grade 6 at Hughes. The pilot teachers were invited to participate. They were provided with training the summer of 2025, and they're continuing to receive ongoing training and support through site visits and after-school meetings throughout the year. Just to give you an overview of what being a reader looks like, there are reading lessons. In K2, they are strategy lessons, which are things like fluency, decoding, comprehension, monitoring for meaning, and things of that nature. In grades 3 through 5, the reading lessons are genre-based, which are more for deeper comprehension, literary analysis, and things of that nature. There's a word study component to the program. In K1, that's delivered in small group. In second grade, it's whole group. And in grades 3 through 5, it's a morphology focus. There's vocabulary component in grades K through 5, an individualized daily reading component, and there is a small group component. Kindergarten, it's foundational skills. Grade 1 and 2, it's reading skills. And in grades 3 through 5, it's reading skills and book clubs. And that's incorporated in the allotted time of that program. In Amplify CKLA and Amplify ELA, in K through 2, it's broken into 2 strands. The knowledge strand is things like background knowledge, vocabulary, listening comprehension, oral language, and there's a skill strand. In K to 2, that's like decoding, comprehension, fluency, and those things. In grades 3 through 5 and in grade 6, those 2 strands are integrated into the allotted time. Bless you. And this program incorporates reading, writing, phonics, phonemic awareness, vocabulary, and grammar. So it's a comprehensive program. Now, I wanted to just update on the evaluation plan of the pilots. So we are using these 6 data points. The first one is the Department of Education's high quality instructional materials rubric. The second point is teacher focus group feedback, the Student Universal Screener Review, principal focus feedback. I should have worn my glasses. I'm like this so far away. And then the student and parent feedback. So those are our data points. The first data point was, like I had said, the rubric, the high quality instructional materials rubric. So the state put this out and we evaluated both of the pilot programs using this. And these are the main points that were included in the rubric that we looked at. It was, if you want, I can read it. It's explicit systematic phonics instruction, decodable texts, knowledge building, explicit instructional routines and resources for differentiating and scaffolding. Thanks. Oh, you're funny. And whether it included assessment to monitor progress of students. Then, there you go. We evaluated both programs, whether they extended opportunities to include word meaning into phonics and decoding instruction, whether the programs provided opportunities for shared reading and writing with peers, whether it provided frequent student interaction with a variety of culturally responsive texts, and whether the materials and resources fit into the district's allotted instructional time. Then both programs, both of the pilot programs, were very similar in that they did include what was listed on the rubric, but there were two notable differences. So the two highlighted differences that became evident were that in CKLA, decodable texts were available for all grade levels, and they matched standards and lessons, whereas in Being a Reader, decodable texts were only used in grades K through 2, and the other texts were student choice. The second notable difference were that in CKLA, additional support lessons were available. There's extension activities, but there was no clear timing for when those lessons could be taught in the allotted recommendation time from the company. And there are assessments in CKLA, but the data application of that is limited by the whole group instruction. So it's a very similar point. Whereas in Being a Reader, the structure, they had independent reading and small groups. So the differentiation using the assessment data was built into the time of that program. And then the next data point was a teacher focus group feedback. So what I did was I met with all of the pilot teachers in cohorts. We met in K through 2 groups, 3 through 5, and then 6. And we had a discussion based on the same questions. And the discussions were recorded, and we laid out the data, and there were some notable themes, so I've listed them. So in Being a Reader, what the teachers really liked about it was that it was very coherent, well-structured. They found it to be engaging. They liked that the small groups were already paced and planned for them based on the student data. They liked the explicit vocabulary instruction and the rich texts. There were some things to consider if we decided to recommend this program. The teachers felt that establishing the centers, there were less resources to do that within the company, and it was more of a teacher decision. So they found it to be a little time-consuming and something for us to consider. There was also a question about the phonics pacing and sequence that the program provided. Some of the teachers found that the order with which things were taught, phonics, phonemic awareness, didn't always make sense in their minds. They found some assessment gaps where there were times when they wanted to know more about students and tempted to use previous assessments that weren't included in that program, so that's something we'd need to consider. And this program does not have writing, so there's a standalone writing program. In Amplify, CKLA, and ELA, the things that the teachers really liked about it was the vocabulary and grammar instruction. They liked the knowledge building component. They saw a lot of growth in student comprehension. They found student engagement and accountability to be high. And they liked the integrated cultural responsiveness of the curriculum. Some things to consider if we decided to adopt this program would be pacing across the day and the week. They felt that this program had a tremendous amount of resources, and sometimes it was difficult within the allotted time to capitalize on all of them. And that goes hand in hand with differentiating for the below grade level students, because while the program provided the extension activities, the time with which to do that was something we'd need to consider if we decided to go with that program. Sorry. And then the next point of data is the universal screener data. And what you're seeing is it's a very initial first glance at the data. So the screening window was extended upon teacher request. There were teachers who emailed me, who emailed Ms. Bacourtney and asked if we could extend it, extend the window a little bit because students were absent and they wanted to make sure every student in their class had this. So this window recently closed. So this view of the data is, it's a very generalized overview of growth. So if you look at the first left column, if you can see that, this is below benchmark students who moved up. So if you see the green is the non-pilot students, the orange is Amplify pilot, and the blue is the last line is the Being a Reader pilot. So the first column will give you the number of students that moved up. The second column will give you students who are at benchmark and maintained or moved up. The third column is giving you the number of those combined. So that is the number of students who made growth. And then the last column is what that equates to in a percentage. But I just caution you that this is an initial view. We are now working on breaking this data into subgroups so that it's more usable and more informative to us. Because right now, trying to compare these three populations this way is not really a good indication because you're not comparing the same sample size. I mean, the sample size of the non-pilot is almost 3,000 students taking that, as opposed to, between 200 and 400 in the two pilots. So any student's score in the pilot will impact that percentage so much more because the number is far fewer in that. Oops, sorry. So the next thing is principal feedback on the pilots. So as you saw on the initial slide, every building has one pilot in their building. So I worked with the principals to ensure that they did walkthroughs in the pilot that they have in their building, but we also worked together and we did collaborative walkthroughs in the opposite pilot as well, because I wanted principals to have a more global perspective of both programs, even if it wasn't in their building. So we spent time as a group doing those walkthroughs. And then last week, we met as a focus group, the principals and myself and Ms. Bacourtney. And we discussed in a protocol 6 key points. So I've kind of taken the notes from all of those meetings and highlighted some commonalities. So the first point that we discussed was engagement and content. And in Being a Reader, some of the key points that came up more than once were there was steady engagement. The students positively reacted to it, but with a little less excitement if we were comparing it to CKLA. The word work supported writing, and it was familiar to the workshop model structure that students are, familiar with in terms of there being whole group, small group, and things of that nature. And then in CKLA, in terms of engagement and content, the principals found it highly engaging across the grade levels. There was rich knowledge building content, and they felt that the shared text increased discussion and enthusiasm among the students. In terms of support for diverse learners, Being a Reader had the built-in small groups, as I've stated before, and leveled supports. It was easier to differentiate for MLLs and struggling readers because of the small group structure that was built into the time. In CKLA, there was a more limited time for small group structures, and differentiation was a little bit more challenging, as I had stated earlier, but the principals noted that as well. The next point was instructional design. So in Being a Reader, it's whole group and small group blend. They felt that it felt less drill-based, and there was natural vocabulary development within it. And the principals pointed out that the ready-made materials made for a fairly smooth transition. In CKLA, it's more teacher-centered and structured, but highly engaging activities, integrated writing, and the pre-made materials reduced the prep time for the teachers, but sometimes limited the flexibility. Then the willingness to adopt. In Being a Reader, the principals all liked it, but they also liked CKLA when they were given the opportunity to have the comparison. The concerns with Being a Reader is the missing writing component, that it had the standalone writing component, and the word study pacing, the principals pointed out, as well as the teachers. With CKLA, there was a strong interest in adopting from the principal perspectives. They all said the teachers loved it. The common text they felt enabled richer instruction. The only concerns that they expressed were the high PD needs and differentiation challenges based on the timing. So there were a lot of repeated patterns between the principal feedback and the teacher feedback. And the last 2 points we discussed were supports needed in both programs. It was the same, which really does make sense, the need for professional development and coaching, and then the time that would need to be allotted during grade level and faculty meetings to, continue ongoing work throughout the year with the programs, and any additional considerations and overall patterns. For Being a Reader, for really both. It's, of course, budgeting, scheduling factors, but the principals did note, too, the phonics misalignment or the pacing difference. But they did feel like there was strong differentiation and easy transition for the teachers. And in CKLA, it was the additional considerations and patterns was very high engagement, culturally responsive, and content rich. But again, time for differentiation is something as a district we need to consider. So the next steps in analyzing the evidence gathered would be, as I stated, we're right now in the process of breaking down the universal screener data. So we are going to continue to do that, and we are also going to be looking at the student and parent feedback that was received, and then we would be putting all of that information together before, making any type of recommendation. We're going to be presenting at the curriculum committee meeting in March 11th. And then if we have a recommendation for a program, that would, of course, then come to the Board of Education for adoption. We're hoping late March, early April. And if we go with a pilot program and it is selected and approved, then PD would begin in the spring, because we feel it's very important for the teachers to receive this before they leave for summer. And then we would, again, do another professional development day in the fall before, the day before school starts. And then there would be ongoing PD plan for the 26-27 school year. So that's just kind of a very brief overview of where we are in the process. And, we're looking forward to it. The teachers and the principals are really excited about this. So it makes the work all the better. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Danino. Antoinette, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for presenting to us tonight. Unlike the demographers report, we actually did receive these before. So we did receive these yesterday, and as a board member, I wasn't happy with the information that was there. So this morning, we were given a little bit more information. And as I reviewed it, I put questions down in my notes, hoping that while you were presenting tonight, I'd be able to address some of those. And I feel like I still don't have the questions answered. So if is it okay if I can ask you?
Of course.
Okay. So when we're talking about comparing two pilots, right? We're not really discussing how the assessments are being done tonight. We're not being told that. My number one concern as a community member, as a mother of a student who has a 504, how many children with learning challenges are in each pilot? Because when I look at 36 students, it's like, oh, it's okay, it's not that bad, it's just 36. But are all 36 students still experiencing challenges because they have learning difficulties or because this program isn't for them? Now, I understand you just said that the subgroups are lacking.
Right.
So for me, I feel like this chart means absolutely nothing to me because I can't differentiate myself on what children are succeeding with this or not.
Right.
Because although I'm someone who looks with the cup half full, I'm looking right now at the cup that's half empty because now I'm looking at 35% of the kids are not doing well with Amplify. 36 are not doing good with the other pilot. And then I'm looking at the students who are not in this at all, and they're not doing well at all. So while it might just seem like 1% difference, when you're looking at the subgroups, like you said, are missing, that makes a huge difference. And if I was to, I'm looking at here, you're saying we have to vote on this by the end of March. I don't see anything here that would give me any excitement about anything because especially when it comes to CKLA, and if it wasn't for Allegra last board meeting to tell me how excited her daughter has been about this program, I feel like I really don't know much about it, other than from the feedback that little girl gave, which I learned a lot of stuff that night as well. I'm concerned about CKLA not giving enough time for small group structures. I know that a lot of students, I'm assuming 40% of them, are going to require that. That help. So that's a problem there. But then when I look at the other pilot, I see that it's not as exciting or engaging as CKLA is. So we have two pilots here, not enough data for me to make my assumptions. And one of the questions I did have, hold on, let me go there. So CKLA uses decodable text tied to lessons while being a reader. Mostly uses them for choice in K through 2. How are students who are still needing help with decoding supported in both programs?
So there's a lot of questions you just asked
I
me.
know.
So I'm going to go back to some of the initial ones.
I don't, because this is how I feel about this
The
presentation.
reason that when you were initially given this, the
Right.
chart, there was no chart for universal screener data, was for the exact reason that you're saying. Like I said, that is an initial glance. It's not giving us the information we need, and that's why it was intentionally left out, because we do have to put them into subgroups so I can answer questions like who these students are, breaking them. We don't even know by grade level. I want to see by grade level, how are they doing? By population, how are they doing? So we are working on that, and you will have that when we go to the committee meeting, right? So that will give you a greater, I think, view. Then there was a second question that you asked before that last one, I believe.
How are the students who are still needing help with decoding supported in both programs?
Right, so they have extension activities in both programs. The small group component of being a reader kind of has that built into the 120 minutes that the program allots, whereas in CKLA, that 120 minutes is mainly spent in more of a whole group setting, but they do have those lessons. So if we as a district were to adopt CKLA,
Right.
then we need to look at the minutes, and we would have to adjust our minutes and expand them in some way so that they do have the small group work, because we are not adopting something where your child or any other child wouldn't be able to get differentiated instruction. So that's when I put on there things for us to consider, that means we are going to have a plan for that
Okay.
if that is our recommendation.
So what are the teachers doing right now? Because I'm assuming that this was brought up by the teachers, which is how you know it's a
Yes,
problem. So
yes.
what are they doing to adjust to it?
So some of the teachers are taking some minutes from other things, but if we looked at it straight out, they wouldn't have that if they weren't making these adjustments.
So this is where they're struggling.
Right.
So when they're taking sub-minutes out of other things, is it other subjects, or are they shortening these lessons so that they can break up into smaller groups?
There's a little of both, right? Like sometimes there would be, they might, if there were 4 lessons for the week, they might do 3 and then do some of this work. Like they are still working with the students like that, but if you were doing the pilot exactly as it meant to be done,
Right.
they would have trouble with that.
So based on the feedback you're getting from the teachers and the principals, the pilot as it is not supportive of students who are going to need extra help?
It's just more challenging. They are doing it, right? But we would, I think, as a district, we have to kind of rethink about how are we gaining this extra time, and we can do it. Like, it's possible. Like
No,
I said-
I have PTSD from Envision, so I'm very, very careful. I'm sorry, I know I keep talking about it, but my kids are still going through it.
Yeah.
I am very hesitant to adopt something, even though I know it's amazing. Again, Allegra's daughter told me it's amazing, because I can't just vote
Sure.
for Allegra's
No,
daughter, right? I need the
understand
other
that.
40% of the students to also be.
Yes.
So I need more data.
And you're
I
going
need-
to
I
receive
need
more data.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a time issue. But yes, you're going to receive that, exactly what you're saying. And that's exactly why I didn't put it in for that reason. But I wanted to give you something because that you requested that. So I'm just giving you kind of an
Okay.
overview.
All right.
Did
thank
I
you.
reach them all? I'm not sure if you.
No,
asked
we have
anything.
4 pages here, but we can.
No, okay, go ahead.
I mean, it really just keeps going back to the same thing. How are the teachers able to help the students that were struggling? And that's for every single part of the lessons that they're giving.
Right.
And-
Like I said, they're utilizing the
Right.
extension activities, but they are having trouble keeping up with the pace of the program in doing both.
Right,
So
okay.
we would have to adjust that.
And you
as
don't know
a-
what the adjustment would be until you look at which students are struggling?
No.
No?
The adjustment would be, everyone is going to be getting more time to do this.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because even if their student isn't struggling, they could be enriched in some manner. There needs to be some time where there is a little bit more differentiation built in without taking away from what the program wants us to do. Anyway, that's why the additional time is necessary.
Okay. Because when I look through this, it seems that everyone's pointing towards CKLA, and that seems to be the one that's the most favorable for everyone and the most attractive to everyone. So I just need to make sure that when we're presenting the data for the next time we meet, that it's showing how it works for all of the students, not just the 60. I want to see actually the data for the students who didn't do well.
Yep.
Thank you.
I understand.
Dr. Figueroa?
Just briefly, and thank you, Antoinette, because you really covered a lot of what questions I have. I just think at this point, I wanted more data. Maybe I was looking for the data that would be presented at the March 11th committee meeting.
Yeah.
And I was expecting to
Right.
get more of that, but I think that's forthcoming from what I understand.
It is. It's just mid-year right now, so
Sure.
we need to give the students an opportunity to grow,
Sure,
right? So
sure.
that's why we were going off of the mid-year data, but
So there, so
Yeah.
I have, questions about overall student
Sure.
subgroups, so all that, but it sounds to me like that is going to be
Yes.
In the next few
We're literally
weeks,
pulling the
we're right
charts
there.
as of today. We are
Okay,
starting
so then
to
I
break
can save
this
some
up.
of my additional
Sure.
questions for after
Yep.
that time. So I just want to make sure I was right. All right, thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. So when will we get the student and parents' feedback?
Yes.
When?
That, we're going to be presenting that at the March 11th as well.
March 11th curricular committee meeting.
Correct.
When you are now going to present to entire board.
Say that again? Oh, so the entire board.
After,
They will present to the entire board. The process should be, right? They present to the curriculum committee,
And then the
right?
next time would
The
be the.
disaggregated data, right? We're looking at the subgroups, who are the grade levels, who is meeting, standards, who it's working with. And then the other piece is the universal screener, right? We've had that data. I know teachers are pulling lessons for the universal screen data, right? To kind
They've
of
been
help.
doing that since
to-
the beginning of the year data.
But the
of
board
course.
and the community does not know that. So I am
yes.
not even, I'm trying to kind of lay out what I'm hearing so that we make sure that the board, not just the committee hears it, but that the full board hears it. Like the totality of the work that is going on around not just whatever the adoption is going to be, but most importantly, I think what I'm hearing is like the subgroups, right?
Yes.
The subgroups is really important for us to share. We have a universal screener, so depending on what group or what percentile of the universal screener, what kind of support the different subgroups have had, and how has that either overlay with the pilot and the non-pilot groups. I think that's what I'm hearing that you want. All right.
Yeah. So with the universal screener, when students took the beginning of the year assessment, the screener itself puts the students into groups, and then the screener puts the students into groups and gives you lessons that go along with students who would fall into this area. They give you lessons, they're paced, and the teachers, pilot and non-pilot, are all using those lessons. They say amplify, so it looks like it's CCAT, but it's not. It's from the screener. They're all using those, and they have been ongoing using them until, and here we are in mid-year, and they will, they will put them into new groups. I mean, but the teachers themselves, from beginning of the year to mid-year, have been doing that in everything. So it's not just kind of a pilot conversation, that's just global.
so then I will suggest that postpone to present to curricular committee after March 11. Present to March 11 curricular committee meeting is kind of premature, so we need to postpone for that. That is my suggestion.
So I think perhaps discuss that with Lori, who's the curriculum chair.
Yeah, and then, and I think also with Dr. Boley, and I know Ms. McCourtney is in here as well. But I think it's going to be, I think the point here is between now and March 11th, are you going to be able to provide the data that people are looking for?
Yes, I think we would be able
yes.
to,
Yes?
for sure, because
Okay.
we have the data now.
Okay, okay.
So it's a matter of putting them into the
Okay.
subgroups. We just didn't have time to do that
Okay.
when the window closed.
So I think then Dr. Boley and Lori will talk about still present in March 11 and
Okay.
determining, right? Determining if what is being presented at the curriculum committee is worthy to make it on
To come to
Broadway.
the next step.
Yes, like I think that's going to be important because we do not want to waste people's time. We want to give people information that they can use to make useful decisions. And I do know, because I did participate in a couple of the walkthroughs with the administrators so that I could see both in action. And I still think that, when we have an effective teacher in front of the classroom, it makes a huge difference. It's not, but I'm not a program gal and whatever. But I still think that some of the excitement I saw in both cases really was driven by the teacher And I think it's important to kind of say that on behalf of the teachers who are not able to speak for themselves, but I firsthand, right? I think that's important. And that's why I brought up the universal screening lessons, because I don't think that we've even had that conversation. Because people are, and I think also because it's Amplify, the same company, we've
there's
just been,
confusion by that,
there's
yeah.
been confusion there as well. So we need to be very clear and just be able to disaggregate the data so that we can see the different subgroups and how they're doing, because teachers are working hard on this, and I want to be
Yes.
able to showcase the work and answer the questions that the board has.
Okay, my second question.
Did that answer your
Well,
other
I
question?
take it. Yeah.
Yeah,
take it,
okay.
Yes. So the second question is for the CKLA. So you mentioned that the future consideration is the passing cross-day week differentiation for below grade level students. You mentioned it's too much resource. So my question for you is, if we provide the proper PD, professional development, will this concern be addressed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So my third question is, you said that the chart doesn't mean too much. I'm not going to decode that chart, but I do have a question how the chart is built.
Say that one more time.
Okay, so let's go to the, if possible.
Oh, that chart?
Please
Sure.
present the chart. So you said some, one category below benchmark and moved up and at benchmark and a positive performance. So is the group positive performance include the at benchmark or maintained or moved up? So is there any overlap for the three different groups?
Green and blue add equal purple, right?
Correct. The green column and the blue column added to the purple column, if that makes sense. So I can't see the numbers, hold on. Let me see. So for instance, in the non-pilot group, there were 1776 students who moved up, who showed growth. If they were below grade level, they went to grade level. If they were on grade level, they moved up to above grade level. These are indicating students who moved up.
I know, I'm now reading the number.
Oh, what are you reading?
Okay, so my reading is if you add three numbers up, it's not equals to two students get involved. For example, let's say the easy one, the second one. So we have 379 students there. If you add up 36, 209, and 245, it's more than 379. So that's my question is.
He's saying the math isn't mathing.
The math isn't the blue plus the green plus the purple.
But it's not plus the purple, I'm sorry, so.
No, the same one. So that's why I'm trying to figure out how you build this table, this chart.
So it was the first number, so if we're looking at CKLA, it's 38, I think that says, and 209. Those are the students who made positive growth, and that equals the 245.
Okay, that's the answer I want.
Yes.
So use the first two columns.
Yeah, the first.
So add up to the third column.
Correct,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
And then.
I have no
yeah.
further questions.
Okay,
No, it's the 245 is divided by 379, which gives you the 65%.
that's how that, yes.
Okay. Wilbur, you have questions?
Sure,
or-
I can go. Yeah, thanks for the presentation, really appreciate it. First question, actually piggybacking off of this, what other metrics are we going to be using besides the positive performance and growth percentage? Just looking for what we can expect to see.
Right, so we are going to be breaking it down by grade level to see if there were trends within a grade level. We are breaking it into populations, so how, subgroups. And we are going to, I think those are the first ones that come to mind. Yeah.
But those are just subgroup analyses on this piece of data. Are
Yes.
there other measurements of student performance that we're going to be looking at?
Oh, you're talking about outside of the screener?
Outside of this one, yes. Mhm.
So in each program, they're doing similar but different assessments. The assessments are based on the program. So currently, the way we track data with the students who are in the workshop are that they are taking similar assessments, marking period 1, marking period 2, and so forth, and we're looking at growth across that. So we are doing that as well within each pilot group. So the students who are in CKLA, they're taking assessments ongoing. They're taking ongoing assessments, so we're looking at growth within those assessments as well. The same thing with being a reader. It's hard to compare both of, like all three of those because they're taking different assessments.
But are the assessments standard-based?
So, I mean, they're repeated, right? So they are taking repeated assessments, and you can compare growth. Like there are common assessments for the workshops students. They're taking phonics decoding assessments within both. So each company is doing, yes, their own.
So I was just thinking that maybe to answer Wilbur's, if it's standard, if the assessments, even though they're different, but that the standards are the common elements, right?
Yes.
Then the standard analysis can be part of what we include. So that regardless of whether they're in the non-pilot,
Correct.
the different pilots, at least there's a commonality of standard. We can see how the kids are doing in each of those groups when it comes to a particular standard, especially the critical standards, when you start to look at the grade level.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great, thanks.
So if we have that, that would be good. I'm
Yeah,
trying
I'm
to
just looking for,
highlight
like,
things they
yeah,
want.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm just looking for, multiple looks at
Yeah.
how our students are doing with the options that we have. So I understand the issue, and this is just to pick on CKLA, because there are similar things for the being a reader program. But in CKLA's situation, there's been discussion about the pacing and the timing and that issue. Have we gone back to the company, and what do they say about the things that we've noticed? And this applies to both
Yeah.
programs.
So their suggestions are you can do it at a slower pace, right? Like if that, which is some of what the teachers are doing. So if they have planned for, like I said, like 5 lessons this week, you might do less and incorporate that in time, or adjust the minutes that we are allotting to these programs.
Okay. Are those feasible options?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Let's see, you mentioned that the screening window was changed. Can you give us the dates of this, like when the screening
Sure.
window was supposed to have
So the
ended? and
mid-year
when it did?
assessment was to be the month of January. And then we had, like I had said, teachers asking for extensions because I think just by nature, the teachers want to do, even though that's the window, they want to do the assessments as close to the end of the window as possible because they've taught more content before the students take the assessment. So we were getting requests to ask if we could extend it because they were having students who were absent, and I guess then we had a snow, like there were just like some minor things. So we said there's no reason that we couldn't extend that, so we did.
And so, what?
So the
what was that
window
extended to?
closed, it was, I'm trying to remember the date, the 13th maybe? It was Friday.
Okay,
It
so
was
just
last
recently.
Friday, so it was last week, basically. So that's why, we didn't feel like that was a great enough time. I mean, Monday and Tuesday, a lot of people weren't even in. So it's been two days since that, 2 work days, and that's why, like I said, we haven't sorted the data into all of the subgroups that we would like to do. And we also would like Ms. McCourtney here as well, and she hasn't been here as of this week, to kind of go through all of this data as well.
Okay. Let's see, in the plan for rolling out whichever option we pick, you mentioned 1 day of professional development before the school year ends and then 1 in the summer.
Yes.
my kids didn't go through the Envision thing, but I've heard enough stories. Is 2 days of professional
So-
development enough?
So
And how
what
do you know
the-
that?
Yeah, what the pilot teachers did was they had a half day of, that was what the company recommended, both programs. They had a half day of professional development in the summer. And then they had another day before school, which is what our plan is to do. So before they would leave for the summer, they would really have an overview of everything they would need to do. And then it's just a matter of kind of looking through all of the resources. And then our intent would be the day before school would be just looking at your first units and going through that because they would already be familiar with how the program is laid out, the components of it, and how the resources are laid out. But the ongoing PD is a very important component of that. Like the site visits that the company has. That's why we are really in favor of coaches, so that the teachers have some ongoing support with it. But yes, that is what the pilot teachers had, and the pilot teachers did a wonderful job, and they are very happy.
Sure. I
that.
mean, I have no doubt that our teachers are doing a great job with
Yeah.
this pilot, but if I understood the process correctly, the pilot teachers kind of wanted to do this,
Yeah,
right?
yes, they
And
were
so
invited.
when you have a group of people that are wanting to take on a new curriculum, they're motivated to do a great job.
Sure.
And the level of PD for that group of teachers may not necessarily be enough for
Yeah.
the rest. And that would also hold true for ongoing PD as well. So again, how do we know that?
Yeah, we're
what
going,
we're
that
targeting?
would, that's what the companies are recommending. So we are not doing less than they are recommending. And like I said, our experience with the teachers who have done it, which is all we can go on, is the company's recommendation and what we have seen from the teachers who are doing it. And they were able to implement it well.
Okay. All right, good. And then just to reiterate what's already been said before, disaggregating the data is absolutely critical. We have to look at that because these numbers don't really say anything for a variety of reasons. I'd like to see when the parent and student feedback is presented, to incorporate whatever additional teacher and principal feedback that you may get between now and then.
Sure.
And format it all the same way because the teacher feedback is presented one way and the
Yes.
principal feedback is presented in quite a different way. It's a little hard to tell if there are any real differences between the teachers and principals when
Right.
it's like that. And we know that the parents and students are going to have their own perspective on things. And then finally, my last point, differentiation in education is the gold standard, to my understanding. So if the issue that people have identified with CKLA is that the time for that is more limited, why does that seem to be the preferred option at this point in time?
Well, we haven't picked.
I know we haven't
them,
picked,
right? Yeah,
but-
so
but
there
th-
is a
but this is-
preferred option,
th- this is the
but we
read
are,
that-
we are trying to,
Yeah.
anything that came up as a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to set forth plans to address that. So if this was the program that we went with, we can address those points.
Okay, all right, great,
Yeah.
thanks.
Quick question. Thank you for your presentation. Have you had a chance to connect with any peers in neighboring districts who have implemented some of these programs, and have you received positive or negative feedback?
Yeah, so I have a colleague who works in West Windsor, and they're at the piloting as well. They're piloting CKLA and Arts and Letters, and they're having a more positive experience as well with CKLA. But yeah, that's my closest
I got you.
contact
So
with
no,
that.
we don't know of any districts that are running these actively right now.
I believe Ms. McCourtney has talked to other districts that are doing that. CKLA, we don't know anyone personally who is doing Being a Reader.
I just think that would be helpful. To,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
I were in your position, I would want to hear from them what how that's.
I believe she has.
Yeah.
She's in a county consortium, and she regularly speaks with other ILA supervisors throughout the county. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I also want to say that I appreciate the information that was added from the first presentation. I know that a lot of times we look at quantitative data, but I also think qualitative data is very important. And I also agree with Dr. Pan that the way the information is presented here regarding principal feedback and teacher feedback could have been better organized, so that we could kind of have like a running list of pros and cons overall. But how often did principals visit the pilot program classrooms?
So they visited, of course, the one that was in their building more often, but they had gone to, there were 4 different groups, so they had at a minimum seen 4 different classes of the opposite pilot, if that makes sense.
Okay, but for the one in their building, the same, how often were they able to go in?
So every principal will tell you differently, they do walkthroughs. There isn't a set number, but the principals typically do weekly walkthroughs in all of their classes, not just the pilots. So that would have been part of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think, I'm kind of hearing like mixed messages, like we're doing the pilots with fidelity, we're not doing it with fidelity because there's a time issue. And so that's a concern for me. Like I'm a big fidelity person, and so I think if you're piloting a program, you need to look at the fidelity within that program. I understand that you've reached out to the program and this was their suggestions, but ultimately I'm concerned about where will the time come from, right? And what lessons will time be taken away from? And what does that look like? I also agree with Dr. Pan. It seems that there's a push for one right now where we see differentiation in instruction and timing both of an issue, but yet we really haven't brought up anything that says, like, ultimately this is how we will address those issues.
Right.
And we're 6 months into piloting the program.
Right. So some of the concern with timing and differentiation is a more, we can address that need a little bit easier than some of the concerns with being a reader. When the teachers had concerns with the sequence in which word study is taught, that's a little bit bigger of a lift in terms of what we can do as a district to address that. Whereas we create the times that are allotted to subjects, right? So we can adjust that and incorporate this as a more feasible option, if we were to go that way.
Okay. Do teachers feel confident right now teaching this independently?
Yes.
I know there was a statement made that they love the program, but I think I would have liked to see points. Like, I know, again, there's information in here, but maybe some, like, real life examples of what is going on in
We
the
can do that.
classroom,
We have
how
actual
they
quotes from the
right.
teachers. Yeah, we
like
can share that.
why do they love it, right? Because I think I could ask any kid, like, what kind, and they'll love any kind of candy, right? And so, but without knowing what it is that contributes to their loving it, right? And so I think this, for me, this was an opportunity because we know that the board, the administration, the community was so invested in this that, again, like, I just thought we could, again, I know that, that looking at quantitative data right now might not be the best thing. Look, I wrote on my universal screener form too, like unrealistic and who and subgroups like everybody else, because I don't think this was helpful. But I do think that we have an opportunity here to look at where we are at midpoint and kind of dive in a little more as to what is or isn't working and how we're able to look at workarounds for that. Because obviously, if that already exists, what have we been doing to address those workarounds, right? And real examples to say, this is what was taught, this is where we see an experience, right? Or teacher testimony. And I know we're gathering like student and parent feedback, but I would also think that at this point, maybe there's been emails or parents that you've had consistent feedback from that could have been shared. And so while I appreciate the work that has gone into this, I'm hopeful that as we move forward, we can get more of that, just pull out some of that data a little more, no matter what it looks like, and try to work with that, because I think it's to the benefit for all of our children. And I do worry about the differences in time and differentiation in learning, because that is something that we are concerned about, that we're talking about, especially across literacy. And so I think just for maybe for the March curriculum committee meeting, or when we say that we're have more data, that we can break it down and share it with the board.
Yeah, that is our intent. And like I said, we wouldn't recommend a program that is different for adoption if we didn't address the concerns that the teachers and the principals are bringing up, so you know.
Okay. So not to, repeat what my colleagues up here have said, obviously this is incomplete, very incomplete of the kind of information that we need. And the only reason I am not panicking at this time is because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Maman, but you were a reading specialist, yes, in your previous existence? Yeah. Yeah, okay.
It's not my role, though.
I mean, in your previous,
Yes, literacy is my thing.
literacy is your jam. Okay. That's the only reason I'm not panicking.
No, don't panic.
Well, I'm not panicking
I am.
because,
We
well,
got
no,
this.
hold on. We have a superintendent who is an expert in not only the education field, but in literacy. And so I have confidence in our superintendent that she will make sure that that we get all the information that we need, because frankly, of all of us sitting up here, you're the one that knows the best questions to ask, because if we were talking music, yeah, I could nail it.
Yes.
But that's the only reason I'm not panicking. So I definitely, we want to see all of those things that have been asked for, and probably a few more things. If this was like the first quarter, I'd be like, oh, okay, first quarter, all right, that's sufficient. This is just not sufficient for halfway through the year, and I know it's going to be fine. We will get more information, and then we will hear from the curriculum committee. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I guess that leaves me. Forgive me, because I have way too many comments. And I agree with Dr. Braun. I would have liked to see more. I'm actually a little bit confused because my understanding is that with Dibbles, one of the advantages is that you're able to pull data instantaneously and there's multiple parameters. So I'm unclear as to why that couldn't have been pulled, and I'm unclear as to why we couldn't see who's an ELL learner, who's, below benchmark, like why couldn't we see all of those parameters? Because supposedly Dibbles can do that in seconds, right?
Yeah, well, like I said, we were waiting for the students to all be complete before pulling that data. And like I said, before presenting it, we don't just pull the data, present it, we kind of have a discussion about it. And we have had, like if this ended on Friday, we've genuinely had 2 full work days since this moment. And it is, like I said, quarterly data, I understand, but it's mid-year data, so we wanted to compare it against beginning of year to mid-year, and that is why.
But that concerns me because that indicates that you haven't been looking even at the quarterly and then mid-year, because the way I do things is that if we are rolling out a pilot, we check along the way. We don't wait until
Right.
we have to present something to the board.
Right, we are looking at the data that the students are doing ongoing. They are only taking this, they took this in the beginning of the year, and they took this at this one other point in time. So we meet all the time, as do the principals, with their leadership teams, and they're looking at the ongoing data within the programs. So within the workshop, within CKLA, and within being a reader.
But there are other assessments, it's not just Dibbles, there are other assessments that students have been taking throughout the year.
Right, that we are looking at that data. We didn't present that here because we were trying to put comparative data. So they are taking all different assessments.
I understand, but the
Okay.
point of doing a pilot is that you're keeping your eye on it like in real time. It's not like, okay, let's stop and retrospectively look at what happened. Part of it is, here's our data gathering, here's our information with like everything that we've collected so far, and then we see that. So I would have liked to see more of that, because like Dr. Braun said, we're 6 months into the year. Also, some of the things that I didn't see, which I was surprised. So for transparency, my daughter's classroom is one of the classrooms that's doing the pilot. So I probably have a little bit more exposure than some of the other board members, but also I'm accessible. So people tell me things and I hear things that haven't been presented here, such as for kindergarten students or lower elementary students, there's a lot of like time concepts in CKLA that they might not understand, like abstract concepts, like when we say thousands of years. So that needs to be addressed. I didn't see that reflected as a concept. And then even with the older students, there's cultural differences that they may not understand. For example, do you know what a tuck box is? Because I didn't. A tuck box is actually a lunchbox in British slang. So if they didn't know that, they got that question wrong on the assessment. What are we doing to address like the cultural changes? Because I didn't even see that reflected in the presentation that was provided. Do you have any information on that?
No, I don't. That has not been, I mean, I'm not, of course, not in every classroom at every lesson and things of that nature, but that has not been noted as a point of concern
Whoever
by
shared
teachers
that, was that part of the
or
lesson?
principals.
Yeah, that was part of the lesson.
So they were taught what that is?
No, they weren't taught what that is. It was just on the assessment, and so they were doing like it was Roald Dahl. So they were learning about Roald Dahl, and tuck box came up, and the kids who didn't know what a tuck box was, because we're not British, we're American, they just didn't know what that meant. So the question was wrong, and they're being taught like to infer, but that also has to be a lesson. That's my point. Like, are we recognizing that those are gaps that we need to? So I don't think in saying this, it's saying like, let's brush CKLA completely off the table. They love it, actually. Like that, so I recognize that the feedback reflects that, but we need to know what those things are that need to be filled in.
So those things, like I said, like that has never come up as a concern when speaking with the pilot teachers or the principals, and that has to be brought to our attention to address that, because we wouldn't know that one specific instance. But when I have been in rooms, like when the company comes to do their site visits, I join them in the room, and anytime I've seen a CKLA lesson, things like that, like vocabulary that they don't think that they would know. Like I've seen lessons with Greek mythology where there was a lot of vocabulary that needed to be learned, or inventors, right? They were front-loading the students with that kind of vocabulary. I am surprised that they didn't do it for that word. But again, like that is not being brought to our attention. I don't know if it's been brought to yours, but it hasn't been brought to my attention or Ms. McCourtney. So we wouldn't know those very specific, like one word in a lesson.
Yeah, that was just one example, but there are so CKLA in general is very culturally rich. It's very knowledge heavy.
Yes.
So those are things that we should expect to prepare for, I think. And, like the abstract concepts, like the thousands of years ago for a kindergartner, they don't know what that means. That's such a foreign concept. So I just was hoping to see that in here. So that's the point of the pilot, right, is to figure out what we do and don't know and how to fill in those gaps.
Right. Yeah, so she's talking about how are we building background knowledge around context that is not part of the culture that you would expect kids to know because they're in certain places, which, we see that, like basically there's that background context building, setting up. So yes, she gave an example, but across the board, they're saying that even with the high-quality rubric, right, is that a high-quality instructional material is good when it addresses and builds knowledge around that. That's what Dr. Tanyus is saying. Like,
Yeah,
so,
no, I understand
yeah.
definitely what she's saying, but
Okay.
what I'm saying is what I've experienced in content that the students did not have background knowledge in, that CKLA, the program itself, in everything that I have seen so far, has done a great job in building the background that students wouldn't come to school knowing.
And we don't expect
So
them to.
that has been my sole experience, and I've been in many CKLA rooms, throughout the time that they've been piloting. So any time that they see, and then I'm amazed because like the students didn't know that information, and then you come back and they're using it. Like if you come back and they're in the same unit, they are using that vocabulary when they're talking, to their table group and when they're answering questions. So I have an experience to what you're saying. And I haven't been given that feedback, but we can certainly look into that.
Yeah, and I think that the bigger challenge with that is, so again, like the upper elementary students, the point of CKLA is that it builds every year, right? So
Yes.
if they're doing a pilot in sixth grade,
Yeah.
they've never seen this before, which explains why they are
Yes.
probably don't know what a tuck box is, because
Correct.
other students probably learned that in
Yeah.
second grade. So if we're going to roll out a program, we need to make sure we know where those gaps are. Again, that's just something I was expecting to see here. The other thing is there a way to, if we roll this out, to align it with our social studies programs?
Yes.
Because the concepts are, okay. 'cause
Yeah, Ms.
that-
McCourtney has already discussed that, if
Okay.
that was the case with this program.
Okay, and just so the public is aware, I'm asking that because a lot of the concepts in these programs align with social studies anyway, so instead of being repetitive, it's actually enriching to do both at the same time.
Right, and also saving some time.
Yes. I know you mentioned that they were considering adopting some adjustments. Why aren't we doing that now so that we can see how that would play in, because that's also part of the pilot?
So there are 2 schools that are making some adjustments to that on a trial basis for that program. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's working out well.
Okay. And that, the universal screener data?
Yeah,
The chart that.
again, I didn't want to put it in at all.
Yeah, no,
Just
but
that-
I need, look, I'm a scientist, I need like math.
Agree, yes.
I need math. I was actually like sitting there and I'm saying to myself, is this statistically significant or not? And I was trying to explain it to Antoinette earlier, and I'm like, the p-value is actually less than 0.05 here if you look at a 2-point parameter. So to you, as an educator, is this considered statistically significant? Like this, no,
No, I
okay.
mean, the sample size alone, it's very hard to compare as a whole. That's why I want to break it down into at least grade levels to make it more, usable data.
Okay.
I'm just happy I avoided using the phrase baseline characteristics during that.
I knew you'd appreciate that. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So, I know that you're saying March or April we'll have to vote on this for 1 or 2 pilots. Is a possibility that, or not 1 or 2, one of these programs, is there a possibility that instead of choosing a program, I don't know, we just expand the pilot?
I could discuss that with Dr.
Yeah.
Really?
That's yours.
They're throwing you under the bus.
Totally under the bus.
Yeah.
No, it's just a thought, because I feel like
No,
it's February and
I didn't want to share, we're not there, but part of what we're talking about is what's going to happen with the current kids who are in the pilot, and we may not necessarily adopt it. Can they continue to do that? And what have we noticed is the shortcomings of our current curriculum, which vocabulary is a huge piece that we've identified. So the plan is to make sure that we are addressing that gap, so that even if, and Joe, I know you're crunching the numbers, he's looking upset right now. Because you say March, April, we don't even know what our
Have some
budget's
water,
gonna
Joe.
be.
Have some
So
water.
that's not happening then, at least to the extent with which we can speak to. But to be able to, since we've identified what the gap is, like what this has that our current curriculum does not, we're working to make sure that we're able to fill that gap for those students who don't. And then working with, I've met with both companies, just so you know, because I'm trying to get, a deal. I'm trying to get a deal, so I've met with both to really speak to, can we continue with the pilot for those kids who are, and, who have it so that they don't go back, right? And then how do we roll it in the next 2-3 years so that we can fill that gap? So that's ongoing work that the team and I have even met about multiple times, and I have been on calls with both just to kind of figure it out. And then even with being a reader, then we'll have to do being a writer because it doesn't quite, there is that piece. So there are other things that we're working on so that we can be prepared for you. And I appreciate everything that you've talked about in terms of what you want to see and the depth of disaggregation of data that you want to see. And Dr. Boley has assured us that you will have that
Yes,
data and
you
that
will
we
have
have it. So
every piece of information that you need.
Okay.
Yeah.
To make an educated decision.
Thank you. Yeah, just to close, I wasn't here when this pilot program was selected, but I did go back and did go back and look at the minutes and looked at the meeting, and I saw that it was said that the board would receive reports, and correct me if I'm wrong, but to date, we haven't received a single report. So it's concerning. And I'm looking forward to seeing that data because we haven't yet. My final comment is that differentiated instruction needs to happen because especially in a program like this, I mean, it's just a vast, that's not even a.
Yeah, we wouldn't consider, like
Okay.
I said, we wouldn't consider recommending that without having a plan to address that.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Oh, okay, all right. No, it's okay.
So for sure, how many teachers are involved in this pilot program?
So we have 2 teachers per grade level per pilot.
So it's
Across all the
approximately
schools.
14.
Here, I can show you but no, there are more teachers than that because we have several teachers who have in-class support teachers as well. So there are 2 teachers in one room. There are, let me see. Yeah, I can actually share with the board. I have a list of the exact number. I just don't have the exact number off
Okay,
the top of my
please.
head. But every grade level has at least 2 teachers piloting it.
Okay, so please share with us.
Mhm.
And the second one should be very short one too. So you mentioned that teachers need to spend more time
Mhm.
to adjust to the differentiation instruction.
Mhm.
So you mentioned that the 2 schools are doing this.
Yeah.
So by your knowledge, the best estimation, what kind of workload will this additional time the teachers need beyond the teachers? Additional workload?
So the workload for the teacher isn't that much because the lessons, like I said, the program has extension lessons already planned. It's just the time to execute it. So even if they had an additional 20 to 30 minutes carved out, that's what the teachers are doing, and they are able to incorporate those small groups into that time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
No? Okay, moving on to our 2027 budget.
Let me just set this up
Do you
for
want
Joe.
your water, Joe?
Joe, do you want me to set this up for you?
Sure. I only have about 100 slides.
Please, no, not 100 slides. So, as you know, we're new. New is not bad. New is not bad. But I thought it was really important, we've talked about how we're embarking on a strategic plan and really looking at our budget, because we know, right now we're all in budget season. And I thought it was really important that we start to share basically essential things. Like, some people say, well, how can you budget? I budget for my business and I budget for my home. School budgeting is different. So I thought that it would be a great idea to begin kind of like a budget 101, so that when we build on it, as we go through the process, when we make references to certain things, You will know what we're talking about and what we have to consider. And we also want you to know what information we know now and what we don't know yet, so that we bring you along in this process. And so, to that, no one can do it better than Joe.
Wow. Thanks. So before I get into this awesome presentation, just a couple disclaimers from me. All right. As we go through, there's going to be topics that we talk about, bullet points. I think it's important for the audience, the board members, the community watching at home to understand that just because we're talking about something doesn't mean we're attacking that area. All right. My intent is to give you information, straightforward information. The numbers, I am a numbers guy, so it's going to be the numbers, not, slanted. The other thing, if I do make a mistake and refer to a program with outdated terminology, I apologize in advance. The state uses outdated terminology like regular education compared to general education. And when you look at these state aid reports, the chart of accounts, it becomes embedded. And my second nature is to refer to it. So I apologize in advance if I say regular education, not general education, or whatever the terminology is. If you get past my lack of beautiful speaking and get to the content, then I think we'll be okay. Okay, so the goal of this presentation is to provide some background. Over the years, I've sat out in the audience for 23 years now, and this is my first budget presentation. We talk about state aid, but we never talk about state aid. We don't talk about how it's calculated. We don't talk about the parameters, the frustration that we have. We hear the frustration. Why can't you plan and figure out what state aid is going to be and project it? I'm going to go over why we can't, and hopefully it makes sense. The other thing I need from the board is if I start getting too much into the weeds and I start geeking out about, stuff,
I'll stop you.
Tim needs to, ask me to break it down like a third grade.
Yes.
Okay? All right. So we're also going to establish a foundation so we can move forward like Evelyn stated. And it's also very important that we're starting. Our start does not equal our finish. All right? We will have to adopt a tentative budget. That's going to be the start. We don't know when, and I'll get into that, but, it's the start. So don't panic in the start, all right? Budget impact. On the revenue side, we have three major components. Our local taxes, that's the biggest part, state aid, and other. Other is a catch-all. That's going to be our interest and fees and whatnot, and then we'll talk about that. Local taxes. We have a 2% tax levy cap. That has nothing to do with your valuation of your home or how much you individually pay. I'm going to use round numbers. These are not our numbers. If our tax levy is $1 million and we can go up 2%, it's straight math, okay? It doesn't mean there's new buildings coming on board and, the tax base increases so we can go up more than that. It's straight, what was the tax levy? We increased by 2%. Now, there are 4 tax levy cap adjustments. You only see one listed because we only qualify for one, the health benefit adjustment. We do not qualify for enrollment, pension contributions, and unfortunately, we have no bank cap because we used it all last year to make the budget work. Bank cap is we had the ability to raise taxes to a certain percentage, and we didn't. So that carries over for 3 years. We had that last year, and we used it all because we were facing $8 million in cuts. So it's important to know that our ability to raise taxes is limited. The calculation for the health benefit tax levy cap adjustment is determined by the state. Part of the budget software, we put in our information. It tells us what that adjustment is. It's based off the state health benefit plan. Their premiums are going up 31%. They take off the first 2%, so whatever that calculation is, we throw our costs in, it tells us how much that adjustment is. And P.S., if you do have a question, feel free to stop me. Yeah. State aid. Unfortunately, everything is unknown at this time. The governor's budget address was supposed to be on the 24th. It's the last Tuesday of the month. New governor, they usually extend it 2 weeks. We have not heard anything. In fact, received an email from the New Jersey School Business Administrators Organization yesterday saying, please stop calling because we haven't heard anything either. So it could be as late as March 10th. We're supposed to adopt a tentative budget on the 19th. So no time, right? State aid is released 48 hours after the budget address. So if it is Tuesday, the 24th, we'll get it sometime on the 26th.
I have a question. Because there'll be a delay in her address, will they delay you adopting a budget?
I would hope.
But no.
I don't know.
Oh.
In the past, they have.
Okay, so they
It
have
might
that.
not be a straight 2-week delay for us,
It's not going to be equivalent?
but they move it. But I'm amazed by how quiet it is. Because usually through the connection of BAs, everybody, oh, we hear this, we hear that, and it's just, it's crickets. So that's concerning. Now, the new governor might do the budget address. She might be ready to do it on Tuesday. I don't know.
Joe? Sorry.
Yep.
Back in May, the New Jersey Senate Finance Committee had a meeting, and there was a document that came out of that looked, that indicated how state aid was going to change for the various school districts. And if I remember correctly, for us, it was going to go down another 3%, 1.3 million or so, if I remember correctly. How, given that we have a new governor, is that document predictive at all in terms of what we're looking at?
I don't know.
Don't know.
I mean,
Okay.
that's the frustration that we experience. It would be great if they gave us a parameter, and if we could rely on that, all right? So, and as I go through some of these slides, we'll talk about what the potential, if we didn't have that 3% increase, decrease guardrail last year, what it would be and how the factors change. But yeah, I don't know. New administration, you have a new commissioner of education. It's, and Evelyn's pretty connected also, and it's, not, but I'm saying, not connected bad, but like you're in a lot of organizations, you're advocate, and you're also not hearing anything. Okay. So state aid, there's various components, but it's all enrollment driven, okay? And it's based off of the application for school or state school aid, ASSA. We do a count October 15th. Every year we report it to the state. That's what they use to drive their numbers. I know it's hard for the audience to see this. Our enrollment over the years, the last several years, has been pretty consistent, but the subgroups have changed drastically. So the state says for adequacy budget, that's a portion of the state aid, how it's driven, for every student on roll, they give us X number of dollars. That amount changes every year. So we can't pop in these new numbers into the formula and say, oh, this is what we're getting. On top of that, they use a weighted average. So it's not our enrollment, and we can figure this out, it's not complicated. The most current 3-year average compared to the last 3-year block average, you take the difference, they divide it, that's your enrollment growth. For us, it's 0.32% because our overall enrollment has been stable. Special ed, we get X number of dollars for those kids. That number changes. When they run the calculation, there's also factors. They divide it by 3. They do the calculation divided by 3. Why 3? I don't know. Like, it is what it is. The things to note on here, though, our 0.32% enrollment growth, when you look at the bottom half of that chart where it says low income, we're at 2,022 kids that qualify free and reduced lunch, compared to back in 2021, 1,538 or 39 kids. That's a huge increase. So and we're seeing an increase every year, a lot more than that 0.32%. Special ed, our overall enrollment is consistent. You know, it's been kind of stable. But take a look at the out-of-district placements. Now, 2021, 22, that was kind of weird because we were coming out of COVID, right? A lot of kids were not going to school. 23, we're at 50. 2024, 67. As of October, it was 73.5. As of 2/13, we were at 84.5. So again, and that's not necessarily because we're placing the kids. There are kids moving in that have IEPs that require the out-of-district placement. So they're coming here and they're already placed, and we just can't unilaterally bring them back. There's a process. And I appreciate Louise educating me on this because there's a lot of nuances to it. So what I want you to take away from this enrollment chart is, yeah, we're stable. The information's used to drive our aid, but there's so many factors that go into it that it becomes not a useful driver for us because the dollar amount per child, per student changes. The factors that they apply to it change. Okay. So there's 4 types of aid that we get from the state. Equalization aid, which is the difference between the adequacy budget and the local fair share, and I'll talk about how that's calculated. Special education aid, transportation aid, and security aid. Again, each component that we get is enrollment driven, but the dollar amounts change. So security aid, 2 years ago, it was $98 a kid. And then for the at-risk, the low-income kids, it was a formula, and it was $140-something per kid times a percentage equals an amount. This current year, state aid, okay, the overall enrollment was $140 a kid, but those at-risk kids, the dollar amount dropped to like $98 a kid. So we got more here than they took it away. Talked about special ed. Transportation aid is based off of the DRTRS. It's the District Report of Transported Residential Students. That just takes the number of kids that receive transportation, the number of miles, and they give us, so many dollars per mile, so many dollars per kid. It doesn't take into consideration that every out-of-district child, that transportation is very expensive because they're usually a one-to-one aid. There's not that many kids on the bus. It doesn't take that into account. So they're shortchanging us. All right. So local fair share. Adequacy budget minus local fair share equals the equalization aid. Adequacy budget, and this is important, is based off of those dollars per child, per student, comes up with an overall dollar amount. that amount does not take into account what East Brunswick is. It doesn't take into account that we have aging facilities. It doesn't take into account that, P.S., we have a snowstorm coming on Sunday, and
No, we don't.
well, I'm hoping because, you know, that's dollar signs, that's more snow removal. It doesn't take into account a bad winter. It doesn't take into account the programs that make us East Brunswick. You know, it takes into account what a magical, plain school district should have. That doesn't exist. So that's something for us to realize that, you know, we want to be East Brunswick. We're great. The state aid formula forces everybody to be mediocre. That's just my opinion. That's not the opinion of East Brunswick Public Schools.
You got a disclaimer now?
Yeah. So let's talk about the local fair share. Local fair share has three components: equalized valuation, income, and then a factor. It's important for everybody to know, equalized valuation is not what your home is assessed for. Right now, East Brunswick is at 17.44% assessed value compared to equalized valuation. I think I saw something that East Brunswick's going through a reevaluation. It's going to take a while. So if your house is assessed at $100,000, the state knows it's undervalued. They run it through whatever their formula is, and they make it equal to everybody else in the state. Equalized valuation. The further you get away from 100%, and we're at 17.4, the more variables come into play. So, are the numbers right? I don't know. It's run through their formula. Right.
I was going to say, but nobody knows.
So in 2023, they used that number for state aid, $8.2 billion. 2024, 8.6, 25, 9.4. Then for 2026, they used the average. And I put the 8.6 billion, 9.4 billion, 10.2 billion. The average comes out to 9.4 billion. The important thing to note is the significant increases of equalized value over the last 3 years. It's gone up $800 million per year. Now, I have access to what it is for this year because it's publicized. The equalized valuation that they're going to use, if they keep the formula the same, will be $11 billion, almost $11.1 billion. So that's a $900 million increase. That's important because as the value of the town goes up, the state says, oh, you can pay more. We can give you less, you pay more. But our state aid goes down, but we have that 2% cap. Doesn't work. Okay. The second component is income. Again, it was year for year. There's a 2-year delay, like they use income from the state of New Jersey Treasury from 2 years prior. They used each year, and then went to 2026, they used an average. You see what the averages are. There was a significant increase from the 2024 year to 2025. This amount cannot be found. All right, so I've Googled it. I've tried to use AI. It's not there. The Treasury Department of New Jersey does not put this out. So we will not know what this dollar amount is until we receive state aid. Now, it's great. At least those numbers are something that's tangible, and we can say, okay, it's coming from a source. The third part are these factors. I don't know where they come from. Nobody does. And when you ask, there is no answer. So if you compare 2025 to 2026 for the percentage of equalized valuation, it's like, okay, that's only that's 0.22%. That doesn't make a huge difference. And then when you look at income, okay, that's a little bit more, it's 0.92%. If we use the 25-year factors with our 26 equalized valuation and our income, it makes a $23 million difference to our local fair share. Right? So, again, how can we, or any district, try to plan on what our state aid is if those factors change? And it can be a very minute change, but when you're talking about billions of dollars, it becomes very difficult to plan and figure that out.
So Joe,
I'll wait till the next
can
slide.
I'm sorry.
See, you got to say something.
Yeah. So can I, based on the data you presented, can I assume or could it be sure that state aid will going down significantly, maybe more than 3%?
He doesn't know. We don't.
So based on the data he presented, because the local factor increase, the value and the income is going up very significantly.
Right. So the answer is
the trend.
It's a trend, but I don't know what other districts are reporting. And the belief is these factors are used because the state only has X number of dollars to give. So those first two components, they're there, and then the state will manipulate these factors to make it work. So if we were independent, right, I would say, yeah, assessed value's going up, income's probably going to go up. So yeah, we have something to be really concerned about. Not saying we don't, but I can't say we do, right? Because I don't know what, South Brunswick is going to have for that. I don't know if they have a lot of construction. I don't know, there's 600 municipalities in the state, what each municipality is experiencing, right? And I don't know what their enrollment is. So there's just too many variables for me to say yes, no, and then I'm stuck saying I don't know. So I'll talk about the impact of what our state aid would have been for this current year and what the projection or the protection of the 3% up and down. So they take the equalized valuation times the percent factor divided by 2, the income times the factor divided by 2, and that's how they determine the local fair share. They compare that to the adequacy budget. The difference is your equalized aid, and that's our biggest component of aid. So, yep.
Actually present this, and I'll have a question after you're done with this slide.
Okay. Yeah. So here's the history the last couple years. FY23, we received $33 million in state aid. And that's total. That doesn't take into account the reduction due to the charter school. All right, this is just the gross. Then we had a huge jump in 2024, and we were expecting another big jump for 2025 because it wasn't fully implemented. They, as far as phasing us back in, then they fully implemented the funding formula, and we went down. Okay, a little bit, it still hurts, but not tremendously. For FY26, we went down again. There was a 3% increase maximum that they put out. If we didn't have that 3% guardrail, our state aid would have went down to $32 million, which is just insane to think, because that would put us below the FY23 level of funding.
Just a quick question on that. Is that, quote, guardrail still in place, that 3%?
Unknown.
So is this based on the governor's decisions, based
That
on?
was-
What are we looking at when her report comes out that we should find this out? Okay.
Yes.
So, thanks for breaking this down. So to go back to the local fair share thing, I took those formulas that you had on the previous slide and the numbers that were on the slides prior to that, because your presentation was the other thing I've been staring at a lot besides the redistricting, the demographer's report. And if I did the math right, and please forgive me if I got this wrong, to me, it looks like our local fair share went up by $8 million between fiscal year 23-24, and then $13.2 million between 24-25, and 21.9 million between fiscal year 25-26. Does that sound right to you? I know I should have run this by you
Potentially,
before.
yeah.
Yeah.
I did the math for the 25 compared to 26.
Uh-huh.
And, I can tell you the local fair share compared, 26 to 25 went up $21.8 million.
Right, okay.
The adequacy budget went up 15.2. So again, that's where,
So-
in PS to everybody, their formulas are there, and I have a copy of the state aid. If the board wants to look at it, I'll share it. When you do the math, and they do the math for you, and it's laid out nice, but then when you go to the final page and it says, here's the money, it doesn't
Right.
equal, page 7 doesn't equal page 3, where the number comes from. So, again, that's our frustration of not being able to look at this formula and say, oh, this is what it is, let's plan.
But is it a fair statement to say that based on the past few years, the state's expectation of our local fair share has not just increased, but it's accelerated over time? Right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And so if you couple that with our 2% tax cap, and given that inflation is much higher than 2% over the past few years, it seems to me that goes a long way to explain why we are having the budget issues that we have now, right?
Yes, and
And-
as I go through some of the other talking points before we have our small group meeting and
Yeah.
back to the full board, I think you'll see some of
Right.
those stressors.
Yeah, sure. And then just one other thing that I'm keeping in mind, again, I could be wrong on this, so I just want to run this by you. If I have my history right, Chris Christie put in that 2% tax cap around 2010 or so.
Yes, that's correct.
So that tax cap actually makes sense if you decide to have a decade with historically low inflation, because inflation was at 2% or lower, it was 0 at one point during the 2010s.
Right.
And then once we hit 2020, that's when COVID hits and inflation skyrockets. So, so the fact that we actually didn't hit our first budget deficit until 2 years ago is actually a bit of a minor miracle, no?
Yeah, there's a lot of factors in the
Yeah, sure, but still.
2020 and on, the
Yeah.
COVID money. There's
Yeah.
offsets.
Yeah. Right.
And
So-
I'll just say that.
Yep, okay, thanks.
All right, so we're past the heavy lift of state aid.
Good.
Okay? But I think it's important for the public to know, the board to know, and to set that foundation, all right? Other revenues, budgeted fund balance. I talked about that briefly at the audit presentation. We do not have the amount of budgeted fund balance that we typically have. Doesn't mean we won't have anything, but that's a stressor. Fees. We charge students fees for clubs, activities, various fees throughout the district. That's a piece of our revenue. Interest income. I know that's a concern. It's a concern because the Fed has cut it the last 3 times. It's down, I think, 0.75 basis points or over the last, year. So that's a concern. Transfers from enterprises. This is a huge piece. We have to maximize those revenue opportunities from our enterprises because their profits are moved over to offset the general fund. And then tuition. There's a couple ways we bring in tuition kids. In the Gen Ed Inclusive program, that's a preschool program that students pay. And then if a resident is here, they move out, we charge them tuition once they move out, and if they continue, We do take some kids in, whether it's displaced kids, whatnot. The important thing to note there, if we're receiving tuition for a K to 12 grade student, we just can't charge what we want. It's based off of the actual. It's based off of the budget. Okay, we think it's going to be $10,000. It turns out to be $8,000. We have to do a refund. If it turns out to be $12,000, we bill them. So it's good to help offset if we have additional seats. But based off of previous meetings, we don't have too many additional seats, right? So we're limited there. Appropriation, yeah, sure.
So for the revenues here, all the items that you have listed here seems to be dipping out of the same pot. So it's from the taxpayer, it's from the tuition payer, it's the fees from the kids. What are we doing to create revenue outside of the scope? Because I feel like that is the part that we're limited in, and it's been like that for a couple of years, and I know you and I have had this discussion, but that is the thing that I think we really need to look at. I do fundraising from my career, my business, and I know that you just can't keep going to the same people asking for the same thing. There's got to be a more creative way to create revenue. And I know that we have the Jam Pack, and I know that we have these other sources that we're creating revenue with, but that's not enough, especially when I'm looking at whatever page it was, I'm having an anxiety attack over here. I need us to look at other ways, because it can't just be this, you can't be dipping in the same pot all the time and expect it to increase. There's got to be other ways. Are you looking at that?
I think we've had a number of conversations, and not just me and you, but we've had a couple. And that's where I think Evelyn's comments when we first started talking, our budget is different. Like, okay, if I'm at home and I'm struggling, I can go get a part-time job.
You can't
Right.
do that here.
There's limitations. So one of the things we had a very brief conversation on was bus advertising.
Right.
So I just didn't poo-poo your thing. I said, okay.
Yes, you did poo-poo it,
No,
but
no.
it's okay.
Well, I might have at the time, but then I went and, okay, let me find out.
Oh, okay, thank you. You
So-
didn't tell me.
Bus advertising started around 2014, give or take. And everybody thought that was going to be, oh my God, we're going to bring in all this money. Some districts took advantage of it. At that time, they were receiving almost $2,000 per bus. So we have 40 buses. That's 80 grand. That would
That's
be
a
great.
teacher.
That would be great, right? Right now, if you can find somebody to advertise on a bus, you're getting about $200. If you're lucky, a bus. That's 8 grand. Not saying we shouldn't explore it.
Because you know what I was about to just say, right? You
Because
know what I
8
was
grand's
just about to
better
say.
than nothing.
Right.
But if
One
you
is more
can
than
find
zero.
somebody to advertise on your bus, because it is limited what you can put on there. It's not a one-stop answer, right? We've talked about fundraising. A charitable organization has a better chance of doing fundraising than a governmental entity where we're already taxing, saying, give us more. We talk about grant opportunities. Unfortunately.
Right, because I was going to say, we can't do fundraising, we're not the PTA. I'm asking if we could do grants.
Right. So grants.
Right.
We apply for what we can, but unfortunately, we don't qualify for a
You
lot
are the-
because we are not.
You're high socioeconomic.
Right.
Grants, there's so many grants that already we're not qualified for. So people talk about grants, and if you really look at who gets grants, it's not districts like East
Right.
Brunswick. However,
It doesn't mean we don't try.
it doesn't mean that we don't try. In fact, we're in talks with companies that they lobby, they know what their grants are. We don't pay them, but they'll write the grants with us, and unless they get the grants, we don't pay them. But those are very specialized. Some of them are like, what's your percentage of free and reduced lunch? What's your percentage of literacy participation or scores and that kind of stuff? Very specialized. We're still looking into them. But those are the things that, because we're East Brunswick, right, a good thing, that's the problem, right? The problem in the sense that what is available to certain district factor group, no, we don't use DFGs anymore, but you know what I mean. It's not necessarily available to us. This is why we hit up EBEF for money all the time.
Thanks, Jeff.
So getting into the appropriation side, and these are just the major factors, drivers, benefits. We're going to see an increase of approximately 22% on our health insurance. We are self-insured. We are running over the last 2 years on what the budget was compared to actuals. Another factor to that is the decrease in employee contributions. There's two laws, Chapter 78 and Chapter 44. Chapter 78 was the first one. It established the contribution of employees to their medical plan. That was based off of how much you make and then a percentage of the premium. Those percentages were higher. Chapter 44 came into play, and it was supposed to give a low-cost option for both the district and the employee. But what we found, and I'm going to use the word premium, even though we're self-insured, we apply what the cost is, and we call that our premium. The spread between the traditional plans under Chapter 78 compared to the educators and Garden State plan under Chapter 44, the premium spread is not that significant. The plans are very similar. But the contribution by the staff, by employees, is a percentage of salary based off of how much you make and what plan. That decrease is very significant compared to the delta between the two types of plans. So our costs are going up, our contributions are going down, so there is no savings. Every year we have to report to the state the cost differential between the old plans and the new plans. Because if we do receive a savings, we're supposed to give that as a tax refund, reduce the taxes to the community. We've never achieved that. I don't know of any districts that have achieved that, okay? So it's a double whammy for us. Out-of-district tuition. As I said, since October, we've increased by 11 students. Out-of-district placements, the private schools, they do not have caps. We get letters all the time saying, oh, our expenses went up or our enrollment went down, so it's increasing the per pupil. We're just notifying you it's going to go up more than 10%. And there's nothing we can do. There's also a direct impact on transportation. So if the average cost of a placement is $80,000 just for the tuition, and forget if they have a 1-to-1 aid or any special services, the transportation is $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. So it's a double hit. All right. Salaries.
Joe?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Just one other thing on the out-district tuition. You said we have 11 more students. And if I remember my numbers right, $50,000 per student is actually pretty low estimate as to what the cost would be, right?
Yes.
But I'm going to pick 50,000 because that makes the math easy. Okay. So that's over $500,000 for those 11 at a bargain price, right?
And
that's the tuition piece. Yeah, that's just tuition, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Just want to try to put some numbers on this.
Yeah. Okay. Salaries, we have contractual obligations. Short-term debt. This was a major topic last year about our short-term debt, if we were going to renew it, the amount, what's included. The board's going to have to make some decisions on this. We do have a issue expiring. It's not a big issue. But we're going to have to talk about what the ramifications are if we don't renew it. All right? What we can't do, what we can do, how we can still address our facility needs and move forward. Transportation, I talked about that right now. The special ed transportation is, an impact. The CPI, which the state determines, is at 3.58% for contract renewals, which is greater than the 2% cap. Now, just like last year, we were going to go to every vendor and say, what can you do? Like, we don't have 3.58. But we also need to understand, if we cut it all the way to the bare bones, when a new transportation route comes in play, we don't have the money. So there has to be some ability to operate, just like with the snow. You know, like we banked on for a couple years, it doesn't snow here anymore. And then this year we're getting slammed. All right. Utilities, market volatility. Electric, we're in good shape based off of last year. Like we had an adjustment. Gas is an issue based off of usage. When you have a full month of 12-degree weather on average, the gas bill is high. When I got my gas bill, like, put on a sweater. I don't know. So, you know, it's an issue, right? It's real life. Yeah. No, I said that at home for me. Like, you know, I have a little bit extra insulation. A sweater worked fine. But, you know, just like at your home, that is comparable. You know, and P.S., we can't go on a payment plan. Like, that doesn't exist for us where it's the equal payment regardless. We are maximizing our co-ops. There is a new program where we might be able to participate and get some money back through the gas program. So we're going to be looking at that and be as aggressive as possible. So maybe that will help. All right. 3 more slides and I'm done. I'm sorry. Key dates moving forward. Governor's address is anywhere between February 24th and March 10th. We have board meeting coming up. You know, tentative budget on the 19th. Final adoption on May 7th. Those are subject to change if the budget calendar changes per the state. Those are the last days, like the tentative budget right now that's approved to adopt the tentative budget on March 19th, unless the state comes out and changes the budget calendar. All right. So that's not us. We could do it earlier. No. But, you know, that's the last time. Recap. Establish a background and foundational thing for budgeting factors. Hopefully I achieved that. Reviewed the impact on our limitations, and we'll talk more about that as we go forward. Unknown, the state aid levels pending the governor's budget address. Next steps, we have small group meetings scheduled, and then we'll come back to the full board, the tentative budget, and then finally the adopted budget. And remember, where we start is not where we finish. And I think that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Joe is a comedian, apparently. Who knew?
Yeah.
You know, Joe and I. No, it's fine. You know, Joe and I really wanted to bring you along step by step as we do this. And I hope that you got something from it. And then when we come back, we'll be building upon that with real numbers that we have. Unfortunately, I don't want to, we're going to have to make some hard decisions. But our vision is this, and our goal, our purpose, our North Star. We really do not want to cut programs. We don't want to, we want to figure this out without affecting children in a way that will hurt what it is that we've come to expect in East Brunswick. But I wanted this foundation so you understand how difficult and challenging the work is. And we're really trying to do the work step by step and not take the easy way to just cut. We want to be intentional as best as we can. So the more we know, and as we go through this process, you will hear from us so that we can bring you along. Thank you for paying attention to Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
I see a couple heads nodding.
Yeah.
No, you did good.
You did well. You did well. Thank you. Okay, thank you for hearing us speak for so long. Now it's your turn. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. To protect the privacy of all students and staff, concerns regarding individual students and staff members should generally be addressed by first meeting with the appropriate administrative staff. Public participation shall be permitted only as indicated on the order of business in our board bylaw and shall be governed by the rules outlined in the agenda. A participant is limited to 3 minutes. If you wish to address the board, please go to the podium, state your name and address. If you're a student, only state your name and your school. Is there anyone wishing to address the board? Please, yeah, just go. Sorry,
Sorry,
Kevin.
real quick, just
Yeah.
real quick, there's a vehicle with its lights out in the parking lot. If anybody has a Volkswagen ID4, and the plate is M34VGB. Volkswagen in the parking lot, the lights on.
Thank you, Kevin.
Do you know your color?
Oh my God. I love it. I love it.
Driving Tim home.
You've been here since 4.5 hours, Tim. Go ahead, young man. Go ahead. She's also a student?
Oh, she's
also a student?
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Let the students come first.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Juliet Lynn, and I'm an 8th grade student at Churchill Junior High School. I attend a program on Wednesdays during school called Teen Arts High at Middlesex College. This amazing program calls students from around Middlesex County to express their artistic abilities and have a higher level class focus on that art form. They offer many classes such as creative writing, musical theater, modern dance, drawing and painting, filmmaking, acting, and more. I've been going to this program for filmmaking for 2 years now, and I've learned so much. I've learned calls for real sets, how to operate cameras, and how to turn my passion into a career. In those 2 years, I've improved drastically. I look forward to this program every week, and it gives me a head start in learning about filmmaking for the future. Most importantly, I've made so many friends who are interested in what I'm interested in. This program is the highlight of my week and my school year. When I went to the interest meeting for Teen Arts High before this season started, I was enthusiastic to see how many students showed up. The year prior, it was only 4 people, including me, and the speaker told us about the program. The others around me were super excited to audition. But when she mentioned the price, everyone got stressed out and left. The crowd went from about 30 to 6 students, which is noticeably lower than other districts. East Brunswick is the only town who makes their students pay tuition for the program. It is worth the money, but not everyone is as fortunate. This is super unfortunate because there are a lot of students there with so much potential, but since East Brunswick doesn't provide or at least help, like the other districts, those students will have a harder time finding and following their passion, and some never will. While East Brunswick does offer some art form electives, it's only one level, and those who desire to pursue the art form deserve access to a higher level class with hands-on learning, professional equipment, and others who are just as enthusiastic as them. Without Arts High, I wouldn't have found my people, my teacher, or my favorite thing in the world, which I know as well as many others will pursue, art. Yay!
Thank you. Sorry, just to clarify, this program is at Middlesex, you said?
the
Middlesex
college.
County College. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good evening, esteemed members of the East Brunswick Board of Education. My name is Eric Sherwin, and I'm a freshman at Churchill. I recently learned of the board's proposal to make the 2026 to 2027 school schedule stretch from very early September to mid-June. This is done mainly in part to the wide number of religious holidays that students have the day off for. I'm here to explain a student's perspective on other options that the board should consider. Religious holidays were a main talking point in last week's debate over the school schedule. There, board members and parents argued that excused absences for religious holidays does not always mean equal. But equal does not always mean fair. Equality is where everyone gets the same resources and is treated the same. That's not the same as equity, where circumstances are acknowledged in favor of equal outcomes. If we are trying to give students the day off even if they don't celebrate the holiday that they received said day off for, that doesn't mean that we're accommodating to the students' needs. Every student has their individual needs, and it's important that the board addresses them using a closer lens rather than merely thinking about the student body as a whole. I'd also like to point out the risk of giving too many holidays to the whole school. As we know, there are many ethnicities and religions, and East Brunswick Public Schools is a melting pot of them all. I speak from a personal standpoint when I say this. I am a person of Armenian descent, and being a person of Armenian descent, we celebrate Christmas on December 25th as well as January 6th. East Brunswick Public Schools has made no holiday to accommodate me. Thus, I spend my religious holiday in school instead of celebrating with family or going to church. Since East Brunswick is so vastly diverse, there will never be satisfaction no matter how many holidays are given out to the students. The point I would like to make is that students shouldn't be learning deeper into June just because they have off for a holiday they don't celebrate. It was pointed out by the board that students would still miss instruction and assessments. This is why I come to you today. I wish to propose a solution to this problem. A possible option could be the introduction of a floating holiday season where each student and staff member gets 2 to 3 days off. That way, not only would we be able to accommodate a student's needs simply and efficiently, but we would also gain the flexibility in our schedule to allow for snow days and other events that lead to cancellations without taking away from breaks or other holidays. As for the work that is missed, students can meet up with their teachers prior to the holiday so they don't have to spend their religious holiday catching up on work. America celebrates its 250th anniversary this year. Our founding fathers wrote in the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal. We as Americans live by this every day, but that doesn't mean it's always right. Since we're coming off the heels of the Super Bowl, and I have the curse of being a third-generation Jets fan, I'd like to end this with a sports metaphor, if you will. Equality is giving both a football player and a baseball player a basketball and hoping that they'll do well. Equity is giving the football player his football and the baseball player his bat, knowing in full confidence that they'll do well. If we aim to be truly inclusive of everyone, we should strive to live by the second option. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I address both kids that spoke? You are amazing. The both, yes, the two of you. Yes, you. There is nothing that warms my heart than to see students come up here and speak for the cause that they believe in. It is just amazing. You make us so proud. Your parents must be proud. I mean, this is amazing, and thank you, because I know it takes a lot to come up here, and you waited patiently.
Mm-hmm.
This is what East Brunswick is about. That's why we're here. So thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else wishing to address the board? Yes, please go to the podium. Are you a student?
Yes.
Okay, so just your name and school.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Maman, administrators, and community members. My name is Rohan Kudedi, a junior at East Brunswick High School and the student representative of the East Brunswick Sustainability Task Force. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. Something that sparked my interest in caring for the planet actually started in 5th grade at Chittick Elementary. The trash power unit taught me a lot about the process of waste management, renewable resources, and how poorly we treat our earth. This idea of caring for our environment again came up in 8th grade, where I continued to learn about pollution, contamination, and climate change. As an already aspiring engineer, I saw an opportunity to combine my expertise in robotics with a passion for the environment. I joined the EBSTF in 2024, hoping to make an impact locally. Over the past few years, our team of the task force, a group of passionate adults and a few high school students, have worked hard to promote sustainable practices. We are hosting events and developing programs like the Repair Cafe, our Sustainable Business Partners Program, collecting hard-to-recycle items at the Recycling Center through TerraCycle, and annual free cycling events. We do all this in order to gain the support of our community and encourage people to change their habits and perspectives regarding the environment. The task force would love the opportunity to help the school district build upon these lessons of the trash power unit and to help implement more sustainable practices in our schools. We see opportunities to improve in our recycling, waste reduction, and educating students and staff about local environmental issues. Our town is known for teaching responsibility and civic duty and preparing the next generation for the future. Practicing effective sustainability practices inside our own buildings will strengthen these values. We look forward to the opportunity to collaborate with you, and the task force is ready to help the district move forward with the first small steps towards a cleaner and greener East Brunswick for all of us. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Excuse me, can you just make sure you give your information to Karen so we can reach out to you? Karen,
In the front,
Yep.
second row, second row. Karen, raise your hand, just so, thank you.
Again, and thank you, our student.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, just amazing.
The grown-ups have a hard act to follow.
Anybody else wishing to address the board this evening? Hello.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Obviously not a student, but our students did very good here. My name is Michael Schwery, over 71 Farms Road Circle, and I'm here for the redistricting conversation. So I didn't really prepare a speech. I just took some notes from some of the things that were said in the introduction here today. I didn't plan on talking, but you're ensuring us that during this will not be affecting us during the 26 to 27 school year, but you haven't ruled out the following year. Why hasn't it been discussed with the residents? And please broadcast to the public your projected school year to implement these changes when you're creating your plan. And regarding the implementation of redistricting, I asked to consider making these changes in stages over the course of a few years, or some other way which could lessen the number of negatively impacted students, as many current kids would graduate out of their current elementary school during this longer transitional period. Simultaneously, new student enrollments can start at the newly redistricted schools to help the board meet their current goals during this transition. And Dr. Pan, you mentioned as a past Memorial parent that when you saw the map data that was presented, you seemed a little bit surprised and asked if there was wiggle room. This indicates to me that you had questionable boundary, you questioned the boundary modifications for the Memorial neighborhood for the Memorial School students. I also am a Memorial parent, and I also ask for wiggle room in order to factor in common sense community suggestions and fix possible oversight, of removing neighborhood kids from their neighborhood school. It was also mentioned the board has to make a decision of location of schools versus the density of neighborhoods. But the board needs to find the balance of the equal distribution of students versus the geographical boundaries, and not move or lean towards either extreme decision of the two. And I guess the last thing I was a little confused on, a board member ended today's introduction by asking what's the next steps would be, and there was some confusion between if a plan or community suggestions come first. So if you could please broadcast to the public what the next steps are, that'll help clarify things for us. Thank you for listening.
So we're not supposed to, it's not a back and forth, but we will address this just
Sure.
because I feel like the public needs to know. So go ahead.
I think I was clear by saying this will be 27, 28.
Okay.
I also said that we need a strategic plan so we can have the conversations and consider some of what you've said.
Okay.
That we,
Sorry, Dr. Mammon, strategic plan not for redistricting, in
But in
general, for the
general.
whole district, like
Oh, okay.
how we're moving forward as a district. Dr. Mammon is new, the board is fairly new, so just in general, it has nothing to do with just redistricting.
Not at all.
A plan for what is our vision for our district,
Academics,
academics,
facilities,
athletics, the arts, everything.
all of that.
Yeah. Sorry, just.
Yeah,
Go
thank you
ahead.
for clarifying that.
Yeah.
And everything that you've said will be part of the conversation when we get started with it. No decisions have been made at all. And I think we were very clear in saying that the demographer was a report. That's it. That's all it was. There's not a proposal.
Yeah, it was just data, not a plan. I understand.
No, and there's no way we can do that without community input. That's not how this will work. And I just want people to hear that part, so that a lot of what you're saying, that we should seek balance between geographical and, yes, absolutely, and that we think about grandfathering kids in and considering kids being close. Absolutely, that's all going to be part of it. And yes, we saw some of the paths and boundary lines, and we were like, we should have wiggle room to see how cannot be final. I think we said that out loud. I just don't know where the miscommunication is, where people think we're moving on this now. We're not. And we cannot and will not do that without community input.
And if I could, yes, when I looked at, when I was, they were presenting the slides, when Memorial popped up, the first thing I saw is, why is the east side of Farms Road not included anymore? And why is the area north of Herbert not included anymore? Because you look at the map, and that is the thing that clearly doesn't make any sense. What and that's why I asked about the wiggle room specifically. I was trying to be polite, so that maybe I wasn't, I'm from the Midwest, that's just how we are. But on the other hand, like I said, I've spent a long time staring at these maps and trying to figure out why are the examples being given looking the way that they did. And that's what I was talking about, as I realized, and this was expressed in the presentation. Please go back and rewatch the video, because Mr. Hayward went through all of this step by step. The key here was to redistribute the students so that no school is inequitable compared to the other schools. And we know that Memorial has more students than other schools do. And that's actually why, when you look at the outcomes of this particular model, Memorial winds up losing most of the students because it started with more students. So, and that was the point I was trying to make, and forgive me if I wasn't clear. But that's why we need the community input. And that's why I was stressing that's what we want. I know that's what I want, and I think we all want that as well. And we have a track record of seeking out community input. So the idea that we're not going to do that, to me, is a little astonishing. And here, like I said, yes, there's different things that we need to prioritize. What the redistricting plan is, and the only thing that's certain is that we have to do it, because, again, what we have right now is not manageable. So the only thing is, what are we going to prioritize? That's the conversation we need to have. Once we figure out our priorities, then we'll know what the redistricting plan is. And that's how this is going to go.
Sure.
And I think Dr. Mammon was pretty clear in terms of where we're going forward with this.
So the next part of the process
I'm sorry, but
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
No, but just to end it, the next part of the process is we need a strategic plan as a district. You know, like what do we want for our academics, our athletics, and our arts, and then from there we will go to redistricting. You know, so and the community will be involved. I think, you know, Lou, if I may, Dr. Figueroa and I had a conversation earlier today, and he said, you know, part of being transparent when it's something that hasn't been the norm, part of being transparent is growing pains. So we're having these conversations in public. 2 weeks ago, that was the first redistricting conversation we had, and I think everybody's not used to that, and they're just like, wait, they're about to redistrict? Are you about to vote? Yeah, everyone's like, you voted to redistrict. I'm like, there was no vote. It was a presentation, just like Joe's presentation, just like Ms. Dinino's presentation. It was just a presentation. So it's part of the growing pains of transparency. New board, new is good. Like, expect this from us. What you see is what you get.
Yeah, and just briefly to that, it's expected. You should feel that tinge, like, uh-oh, wait a second, what's going to happen now? Because that's kind of the way where we came from. But we're trying to change that. And I think that's really what we're doing here is saying, when we have something that we want to talk about, we're going to let you guys know about it, so that you can come back to us and say, hey, wait a minute, we have questions on it. That's the positive dialogue that we need. Yeah. That may not be where we came from. That may not be our recent history, but we want to make sure that's our future history, and the future is now.
Right. This is what transparency looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's hard.
And we like
Yes.
to talk. It's fine. You know.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi.
Hi. Erin Shueri, 701 Farmswood Circle. So I prepared something that probably isn't really even relevant anymore to this conversation because of how you kind of opened up the meeting tonight. I can definitely feel your passion for how maybe you feel like you're being attacked.
No, not at all.
But
Not
but
at all.
also, I think the conversation is hopefully you can feel our passion
We
in
do, yes.
in this. I am one of the parents that I had emailed. Many of you, and I got a phone call from Mrs. Jones, who, poor Mrs. Jones, could not answer any of my questions, so I felt it was a little unfair to have her call me. But I do respect that, you guys are trying to address the parents' questions. But what I will say is that to have a board meeting on February 5th where maybe the plans are not proposals, solidified, whatever verbiage you want to use, you did put out something, a map I have been looking at over and over and over again. That doesn't make sense to the Memorial School rezoning. Yes, I'm Farms Road Circle, and half of my neighborhood is included, half is not. There are people that would be across the street from me that would be going to the school while I would have to go to Irwin. So to kind of say that like we shouldn't get upset about this is a little unruly, because this is what we're looking at right now and what's being out there. I know you're kind of looking around like, what, I'm crazy, but this is something that we have right now that we have to work with. So if this isn't actually something that's going to be published, then I think it would be really worthwhile to see at some point what is going to be published, because you're saying that you're going to keep kids in their neighborhoods when in fact you're displacing kids from their neighborhoods. And I have 2 kids that I'm trying to put through the school district here. One, if the 27-28 plan works out, she won't even be able to finish in Memorial. She'd have to go to another school. Then I have my 2-year-old that would never even see Memorial School because he would have to go to another school. And while other kids in our neighborhood would end up going to Memorial. So I think the whole thing is just, let's try to keep kids in the neighborhood, in their neighborhood schools, because taking them out, sending them to Irwin, Central, wherever they might fall, that's not keeping them in their neighborhood. Their neighborhood school is Memorial. So all we're asking for is consideration and to make sure that you're not feeling like you're being attacked, because we feel like we're kind of being attacked. And we had, the reason why we all got upset about this is because it's the first time that we were seeing it, and really none of it made sense to us. So I'm hoping that everybody really relooks at these maps and tries to keep everybody in their neighborhood school together, and they're not displacing children in the neighborhoods. That's all that I have to say.
Thank you. And no, you can, just to reiterate, we didn't look at these, that the first time we saw them was that day, that same day. Nothing has been analyzed. I'm not sure, nothing has been analyzed. We don't know who's going where, because we haven't even looked. I honestly can't even see what's on the maps. I think Jamie had asked for a PDF because we could not see what's on the map. So no analysis has been done. Again, just to finalize strategic plan, and then we'll look at redistricting, and we will consider everything. And that's, by the way, what grandfathering means, is to include students who are already there so they're not impacted. As far as children who are not in the school yet, I don't know that we can commit to that, and that's a decision we'll have to make as a board. There's no way everybody will be happy, but we are considerate of that. Like we said, we're parents. Dr. Braun talked about being redistricted herself. It's 40 years later, and she's still talking about it. So we understand how it feels. And no, not at all. We don't feel attacked. You're welcome to share how you feel. And we're just sharing the information that we have. That's all. Thank you.
And we did ask about that in the meeting.
Yeah,
Keeping
we
kids
did.
in.
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah.
So it's not like, we were not aware of such issues.
What's wrong? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
My name is Melissa Carrion. I live at 25 Timber Road. I'm also one of the 9 that sent an email. I have notes, but I want to respond to just a few of the comments. One, Dr. Maman, you said something about we shouldn't get stressed out. I think that's our job as parents, to get stressed out and be passionate advocates for our kids. So I feel like that comment is a little bit unfair. And I think, you would see and you'd probably advocate for your own family in the same way. Is this part of my 3 minutes? Okay. And then I think, I feel like you guys are, the laughter and the commentary, it feels very pejorative, very condescending, and it's really unfair for people who moved to East Brunswick to particular neighborhoods to go to particular schools. The schools have a particular rating. I wouldn't have chosen Irwin because it has a different rating. So there's a reason that I selected to live where I live. I would hope that this would be like a respectful communication, and it doesn't necessarily feel that way. I have 3 children. I've been a homeowner in East Brunswick since 2016. Logan 8, Jackson 6, Lily 2. I'm not here to debate you for the need for redistricting. I think we can all look at the map and agree that there are things that don't make a ton of sense. But at the end of the day, you are managing a business, you're managing a P&L, a budget. I do that every day in my job. And so I understand that there are trade-offs that you have to make. In an effort to promote transparency, it would be helpful to understand what's the impetus. You did hire somebody and pay somebody to do a demographer's report. So what was the brief? Was it promoting more cultural diversity? Was it to reduce fees for busing? Was it to, change the lines for another reason, for like the growth of many of the new housing developments? There had to have been a brief to this demographer other than just to say, tell us what you think is the best. I'm here as an invested and passionate advocate for my children to highlight some of the things that I think are the biggest issue. We talked about Memorial being hit the hardest, 31% of children, 267 Memorial kids of the total 418. You are completely changing the fabric of Memorial by doing something at that level. I think it's important to speak now because you haven't made a plan, and I think that that's very clear. And if we don't speak now and then you come to us with a plan, then you'll say, well, you never said anything about the plan. So I think it's fair for us to come before you get to that stage so that you can hear our perspectives before you go into making a proposal. I'm probably out of time.
15 seconds.
Oh, mental health, logistics and safety. Half of my street, there's 5 houses that get to stay in Memorial, and the rest of us have to go to Irwin. It's a little bananas. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anybody else wishing to address the board? Okay.
One more.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you. This is again another comment in regards to the redistricting.
Name.
I'm sorry, JJ
Name.
Lee at 64 Farms Road Circle. And as you can see, the first 2 speakers that we had tonight were very intelligent, very articulate, and very prepared students. I am not that. I am speaking from the heart, and they are the reasons why we came here in 2016. We moved to Farms Road Circle because of the walking distance and because of the school systems that we were presented. I just want to present some comments in regards to the demographer. He had to be presented some type of information. I don't think he was presented the correct information. The maps are outdated from what I can see. There were missing streets, even off of Timber. Maybe he was not provided capacity of the schools, right? You mentioned that there are large number of headcount, but there is also a large number of empty classrooms in Memorial, right? So maybe it's a staffing issue. Maybe it is a utilization issue of those particular schools. We can't build another school right now for the high school. We don't have the money for it. So if we cannot utilize the amount of space that we already have and redistribute by the number of equal distribution, that's not going to work, right? Because we're also having more residents coming in. Central, Irwin, and Lawrenceburg are probably going to be the most hit because they are the most geographically close to the new developments, right? So that's just one point that I would like you to also consider, that there is a capacity and a utilization that we also need to consider as well with our schools. Cost of busing. According to the map, and I get the whole boundary thing is not still in question, but the cost of busing, if those maps were in line, for me, going from Farms Road Circle to Irwin, I would be passing Central. That doesn't make any sense to me. Grandfathering, as you have mentioned, for one child does not seem fair when I have other children that are also going to be going into the school system. especially considering that this is an elementary that's K through 4, right? 1 year of grandfathering of one child will segregate my children. My child might be going into kindergarten,
15
as an
seconds.
example, and then another child going to a completely different school. Does not make sense. And for your strategic plan, no offense, I have heard that line. I think we need to have a little bit clearer understanding of what that is. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Tatiana Jordan, 27 North Drive. I'm pivoting away from the redistricting just for a moment. I would like to thank the administration for the recent presentation regarding the pilot programs. This issue has weighed heavily on many members of our community, and the opportunity to hear an overview was necessary. I was going to come up here and talk about how the pilot specifically helped my child, who Antoinette is a struggling reader, and he's now writing stories about the Minotaur and Theseus and the Labyrinth. However, I want to echo the board's sentiments regarding the lack of data, but I also want to thank Dr. Mammon for her willingness to listen and her openness to gathering meaningful information before making such an important decision. There is a noticeable difference in tone and approach under the current leadership, both with Dr. Mammon and the board, with a clear emphasis on inquiry and student outcomes. So I genuinely want to thank all of you for asking all those questions tonight. This stands in contrast to what many of us experienced a year ago this month. At that time, the defense of the existing ILA curriculum did not meaningfully address the concerns raised by families, and at times had a tone that felt very retaliatory rather than open and constructive. It has since become clear that units of study does not adequately meet the needs of many students, particularly in delivering a strong Tier 1 instruction. If you have strong Tier 1 instruction, there's less of a need to rely on small group instruction as your primary focus on delivering instruction. To many struggling readers that were overlooked, I apologize to you, and we've been fighting for you, and valuable instructional time was lost, which is why I'm so optimistic that implementing a new curriculum, potentially one of the pilots presented tonight, can address those gaps and strengthen foundational literacy instruction moving forward. As this process continues, I encourage the development by the board of a policy outlining the expectations and oversight for future curriculum pilots, including defined criteria for selection, evaluation, and communication. Doing so will promote accountability and consistency in future decisions. Our children deserve curriculum decisions grounded in evidence and implemented with integrity. And again, I genuinely want to thank you for the discussion today, because it has been refreshing to see that we're actually asking questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana.
Allegra Seidler, 12 South Woodland Avenue. I had planned to say something vastly different, but after that presentation, I'm left with no choice but to say this. On February 13th, 2025, like Tatiana referenced, there was another literacy-related presentation in this room, but with entirely different intent. That presentation was designed to rebuke and silence a group of concerned parents, to tout the efficacy and comprehensive nature of the existing elementary language arts curriculum. It was designed to deny the need for change, the entire need for this pilot. And it was presented as a response to the stories we had shared from parents across the district. I know we have a lot of new members in the audience today. You can go back to November 21st, 2024, when I first came here to start talking about this. We shared stories of fifth graders reading at a first grade level, students who were not given dyslexia screeners until fourth grade. For the record, they are dyslexic, not that anyone followed up. Students whom the district said were progressing and not in need of support, yet outside assessments showed the need for intensive intervention, and others. The hard data in tonight's presentation was very obviously missing. Not prioritizing data is how we got here. It's why none of these gaps were previously addressed. It's why we very clearly don't have a functioning MTSS. I opened it, I got something that really doesn't make any sense. It's why we don't have any idea what the return on investment is for any of the interventions that we're doing. Tatiana addressed the focus on small groups. Yes, we need a better tier 1. Why we didn't hear about an MTSS and what that looks like in a pilot and how that's going to make our financial system better is astounding to me. I hope that with the budget as an ever-present concern, that you will be given an analysis on the cost differential between the upfront investment in a new curriculum, whether that's a product or man hours to make a from-scratch curriculum with some free resources that I have provided God knows how many times, versus the long-term and compounding investment in continuous interventions for problems we create and perpetuate, because that is what's happening with the current curriculum. All of this time that has elapsed should have been invested in the genuine interest of our children. A supervisor stood at this podium last year answering your questions about the possibility of implementing a new curriculum and told you, I think it might have been you, Dr. Pan, that asked this question, that a pilot for such would need to be robust. And I don't disagree. I've said that before. Was this a robust pilot?
15 seconds.
Was this a robust presentation? It's unacceptable to continuously burden our children with the consequences of poor administrative choices, and it needs to stop. There needs to be accountability here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Bethy, 5 Watchung Road. I also want to share something about small group. I know that kept coming up in the presentation. For years, East Brunswick has invested heavily in balanced literacy. Shifting to structured literacy is not simply a materials change. It's a fundamental instructional shift grounded in explicit, systematic teaching. If structured literacy is primarily delivered through small group instruction, we risk repeating past patterns where core instruction is fragmented or inconsistent. Structured literacy works best when its principles are embedded in strong tier 1, whole group instruction, with small groups used strategically for targeted support, not as the primary delivery model. As you shift from a workshop model like units of study, the hope is that you don't default to small groups as the primary driver of instruction, but instead ensure strong, explicit tier 1 teaching for all students. When tier 1 instruction is explicit and systematic, the idea is that fewer students would require that intensive small group intervention. So if you are truly committed to the shift, we must ensure it's implemented with fidelity, clarity, and equity for all students. To answer a question earlier, students who are not in the pilot continue to struggle and not get what they need. It's a piecemeal approach, and it's a constant fight. So to end, while structured literacy is absolutely necessary for some, it does truly benefit all students. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
I don't even know if I'm this tall. Hi, my name is Melissa Klimczak. I live at 5 Timber Road. Just to speak a couple of things about the redistricting, I understand, some of the reasons for the map, and some of them do work, like the kitty cat and the Lawrence Brooks students. I totally understand that. But I am a New Yorker, born and bred. I've only lived in East Brunswick for 10 years. But everywhere we go, it says, if you see something, you say something. And that's where I stand. So I see something for my children, I'm saying something. I had my kids in daycare since they're 18 months old. I moved my children at ages 4 and 5. I utilized the ELA from East Brunswick, which was amazing. But I did that because my 4-year-old at the time was not the best transitioner. Every day that he went into school, he would cry. Even as a preschool student. So he only got better because he knew the walls of the school. He knew where he was going. He has a 5-year-old brother. They're 11 months apart. Now he walks into the school, doesn't even turn around. When I tell you this is a child who every day into the ELA with the same kids, the same teacher, had to do a high five, a kiss, a hug, and if he didn't turn around and watch him, he was screaming for 20 minutes, and I would get a phone call. So to put him in the ELA, and now he's walking into the school by himself, doesn't even walk with his 6-year-old brother anymore, it's amazing. And that right there, to me, speaks volumes of comfort, stability in his school system. He's only been in that school for 2 years. First year crying, second year, amazing. Says hello to his teachers, goes down the hall, says hello to his other teacher. That is a 5-year-old walking through the halls by himself, okay? doesn't need a support system. Amazing. My next outline here was, it's not just for me. So I am a mom, and I knew nothing about the East Brunswick school system till I put my kids in there. What do other moms ask? How do you do this? What do you do this, Melissa? What's going on in the school? How does this work? Blah, blah, blah. You're a resource to your neighbors, okay? So I brought my neighbor here. She has a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, hoping, she would go to the same school, and I can help her out and be like, hey, this is what you need to know. This is how you do this. This is how you do the lunch. This is how you do. It's little things like that, everyday little things that you can help your neighbor out with. But if they're in a different school, you have no idea, because each school has their own little tweaks. Not every school, elementary school, has the same system. So there are little things that are different. I think that's most of my topics there, but I would just like to keep our kids in the same area, because even grandfathering, I'm fine because my kids are the same age, luckily, so they're in the same school. But for kids that aren't, it's a little hesitant to take brothers and sisters out of the same school system. And as a parent, knowing who your teachers are. A lot of things happens in schools, right, recently? It's very
15
scary as a
seconds.
parent to be thinking about those things, but your comfort level is, I know Miss Jones, I know Miss So-and-so, I know this teacher, I know that teacher. You walk in every day, you look at them, hi, 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 you see all your family faces, you know who everybody is. It gives you a sense of peace and comfort when you're going to work an hour away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come up here while the mic is at my height. Thank you. Erica Korkowski, 10 Brantwood Court. I would like to raise questions regarding the demographer's model when calculating the projected enrollment. As background, I am an accountant for a real estate developer in New York City. I also serve as a board member of the EBCHC, which is a nonprofit that acquires and operates affordable
Just keep on going.
affordable housing in our town, helping the township meet its affordable housing goals. Stemming from a question raised by Dr. Pan at the last meeting, the demographer noted the future Brunswick Square Mall development was excluded from the projection due to not being finalized. I would argue that reasonable estimates are able to be made based on the township's known affordable housing obligation. According to the township's plan, 120 affordable units will be created by redevelopment of various sites, including the Brunswick Square Mall. Typically, residential developments are split 80% market, 20% affordable. Legacy Place follows this model with 520 units, 104 of them being affordable. Using an 80-20 split, 100 affordable units would yield 600 total units. I don't see why that can't be used as a basis for input to the demographer's model, but if it is still felt that using estimates is inappropriate, then perhaps the redistricting exercise is being done prematurely, and the board should wait until all information is available before drawing maps that will be in place for years to come. The demographer also noted in his presentation that the new developments of Vermella and Legacy Place, which are included in the model, have minimal impact to projected enrollment based on statistical averages that show apartments yield less school-aged children than single-family homes. I believe that could be true when looking across all towns in our county or even our state, but I'm curious what the average yield would be if focused on towns with desirable school districts. Most residents I know, myself included, move to East Brunswick specifically for the public school system. I would think it is likely that people moving to new apartments will be coming to East Brunswick for the same reason. I think it's reasonable that the impact to East Brunswick schools will be higher than the county or state average, and the projected enrollment model should reflect that. I understand the need and wholeheartedly welcome the new development as long as our infrastructure can absorb the impact, and particularly for our school system, not just absorb but maintain its excellence. I think there are still many questions around how the board will address the concerns regarding the impact of the new developments, especially considering that there are trailers at Churchill and a high school so old that not too long ago there was a debate on whether or not it should be torn down.
15 seconds.
In closing, thank you. I understand the projected enrollment model presented was a starting point, but it needs to be critiqued and refined to reflect East Brunswick's unique traits and circumstances to ensure the board has the best, most accurate information when making these very impactful decisions. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so going once, going twice. Public comment is closed. Okay, we are moving on to our agenda. Okay. So do we have a motion to move Board of Education items 1 and 2?
So moved.
Second.
Lori and Wilbur. Discussion? Any discussion on Board of Ed items? Okay, this is a voice vote, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, moving on to business and support operations, items 1 through 18. Do we have a motion?
Move.
Wilbur and
Second.
Lori. Discussion? Yeah, Wilbur.
And so I have a question on item 3, the roof replacement at Irwin. Yeah, so I think this question may be mainly for Joe, but I was wondering if we can get a more detailed explanation as to what goes into this contract, because I'm relatively sure there's more that goes into replacing the roof than replacing the roof, and that's especially for a school as opposed to like my house.
Right. So this bid that we put out covered the roof, gutters, downspouts, the ladders to access the roof, any drainage, the metal edge. There's also, we have to bring it up to code as far as the R value for the insulation. So that will be taken care of. It comes with a 2-year warranty, maintenance warranty, and then a 25-year membrane warranty. So it's not like you're a shingle roof. It's a membrane that they install. I know the question will come eventually about solar. The Irwin roof, unfortunately, cannot take the weight of the solar, because it's wood and because of the age. So that is not a school that we would, is identified to put solar on it. So unfortunately.
And the 2-year maintenance, 25, is that standard for roof? Are
With
there
this type
options
of
for?
roof, the 25 years. And the unique thing when they're putting the roof on, the manufacturer of the material will also be on site throughout the process to ensure that it's being installed correctly. Timing is everything. I got several emails today regarding Irwin and leaky issues in classrooms because the snow is melting.
Sure, yep.
So it's desperately needed. And
Yeah.
the other thing that the public should know, I won't get into specifics on the budget and where it came in. The bid came in under the budget. So
Good.
I don't want to say why, not me, I didn't do it.
Take credit.
Okay.
And one last question. So in terms of the warranty, for a bid like this, not for Irwin specifically, because I know we have to just make a decision on it, but in the future, is there room to set the parameters of the contract at a higher level? Say we want a roof for a school, but we're looking for, say, a 35-year warranty on the...
I believe that's going to, if we want a longer warranty, that will determine the type of material that is used, and of course, the cost would go up. My understanding, based off of conversations with the architect, is that this is a really good roof system, and the standard that, they go to. Could we? Yes, but with everything, there's a cost point.
Sure, but there's also, short-term gains for long-term loss. I just wanted to know
Yep.
what the possibilities were.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Items 1 through 18?
Just to be clear too, sorry, on the roof, 14 bids came in. We, by contract, have to take the lowest.
So it is a bid. So as long as all the paperwork is there and there's no fatal errors, we have to take the lowest. And in the write-up, you'll see the low bid did withdraw because they made a significant mistake. The low bid is taken, and there's no exceptions with a bid.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, so this is a roll call vote.
Okay. Anna Braun.
Yes.
Timothy Cummings.
Yes.
Antoinette Avola.
Yes.
Louis Figueroa.
Yes.
Lori Herrick.
Yes.
Lee Woo Hung.
Yes.
Wilbur Pan.
Yes.
Mary Ann Tanius.
Yes. Motion carries. We are on
Page 19.
Yeah. Curriculum and instruction, items 1 and 2. Do we have a motion?
Move.
Wilbur, and I will second. Oh, Lori, go ahead, second. Lori. All right, discussion? Any discussion? Okay, this is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right. We are on to human resources, item 1. Do we have a motion? Wilbur and Lori. Discussion? Okay, this is a roll call vote.
Anna Braun.
Yes.
Timothy Cummings.
Yeah.
Antoinette Avola.
Yes.
Louis Figueroa.
Yes.
Lori Herrick.
Yes.
Lee Woo Hung.
Yes.
Wilbur Pan.
Yes.
Mary Ann Tanius.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, we are on to student services, items 1 to 3. Motion?
Move.
Second.
Wilbur and Lori. Discussion? No? Okay, this is a roll call vote as well.
Anna Braun.
Yes.
Timothy Cummings.
Yes.
Antoinette Avola.
Yes.
Louis Figueroa.
Yes.
Lori Herrick.
Yes.
Lee Woo Hung.
Yes.
Wilbur Pan.
Yes.
Mary Ann Tanius.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, we are on to our committee reports, information items, and for the good of the cause of the board. We will start on that side, I guess, or you wanna? Go ahead, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Good for you guys still being here at 11 o'clock. Thank you for staying. As for those of you who don't know, I am the liaison for legislative business. So today in Trenton, the Education Committee met. There were 3 bills up for discussion, and I thought this one was pretty interesting, especially since 2 of our District 18 Assembly members are sponsors for this bill. So the bill number is 3887, and it moved favorably out of the committee, which is great. So this bill authorizes the use of school bus monitoring systems to pretty much catch people when they're going past the bus, when the bus is stopped. So I'm just going to summarize it. What that basically says is, you don't have to do this. Your district does not have to adopt it, but now you have, if it gets approved after it goes to through the channels, it would allow bus drivers to report whatever happened to the police department. The police would review the tapes. If they decided that it was, again, in fact, breaking the law, they would consider it like a red light ticket, right? So then they would get a ticket in the mail based on the license plate number. So this takes the bus driver out of the responsibility, because some people were saying, well, why doesn't the bus driver worry about the license plate or have to go after him? The bus driver's job is to protect the students that are inside the buses. So this is going to be strictly the responsibility of the police department. So they did a pilot in Woodbridge last year, and during the pilot, they had 3,000 cars, which I thought was insane. 3,000 cars got caught passing past school buses when they were stopped, literally with the arm out and the stop sign there. So the fee used to be between, I think, $100, and I think now they're trying to make it between $200 and $300. So what the assemblyman was saying is, imagine if they were to take the fees that the revenue that they create from these tickets and put it back into the school systems that are being affected by these state aids and state cuts. And so I thought that was interesting. But out of 95% of the violations that were given, 95% of the violations never got a second ticket. So they learned just from that penalty, so they felt that it was effective. And like I said, there was one person who was opposed to it, and that person didn't give a public comment. So I don't even know how they stuck with that. But everybody was in favor of it. One part broke my heart, because this mom talked about her child who passed from a car passing a bus stop. So she was there advocating so that no other parent has to go through what she went through. That was hard for me. But it was really impressive to see such bipartisan support. Everybody was in favor of it. So I'll keep you guys posted on it, but I have a feeling that one's going to be one that goes to the end. Thank you.
Yes, just briefly, first of all, I want to say thanks for everybody for coming out tonight and staying as long as you did today. It was a very productive meeting, I hope, as we'll see in the future. I had the good fortune of getting to the district choral concert. It was about a week or so ago. I saw Dr. Pan there taking pictures. Elementary to high school students, it was fantastic. In the future, if anyone has a chance to do that, it really shows a great progression over the years. And Dr. Braun, I know you know what I'm talking about. Just fantastic. Our kids are just so talented. It's wonderful. I also want to mention that the Student Services Committee will be reconvening again this March, mid-March we're looking at. I'm sure there'll be more information to come, but we're excited about that. Also, congratulations to all of our winter athletic teams. I know Dr. Mammon mentioned, and I'd like a quick shout out to the girls varsity basketball team that will be playing for the county championship tomorrow night in Monroe at 6 p.m. against St. Thomas Aquinas. So if you can make it out there to support them, all of our teams have just done a great job, this whole year, and so proud of all of our kids. But the girls team, congratulations, and hopefully success tomorrow night. Thank you.
Thank you. Lilo, do you have anything? No, I have okay.
So I know I mentioned this last time, but Happy Year of the Horse. Lunar New Year was just on Tuesday. Little bit of information. The Year of the Horse is associated with being strong, being fast, moving towards a goal. I actually think that's our board. So it's a pretty good year for us. The other thing, just in case, if you look at any sort of news app, I'm sure you've seen a headline that breathlessly said something like, this is the year of the fire horse. It's never happened in 60 years. Well, the way it works is that you have 12 Chinese zodiac animals, and there are 5 elements. And so you do 5 times 12, that's 60 combinations. So every year hasn't happened in 60 years, just to save you some time for clicking. Yeah. The other thing is that Ramadan and Ash Wednesday just came by. I went and got my ashes yesterday. But I actually can't think of a time where all 3 holidays happened so close to each other. Don't know what that means, just thought I'd mention it. I know it's been a while since Joe's presentation. I really want to thank Joe for doing such a great job. Because it's exceedingly hard to take a really complicated topic like that and break it down to language that people out of the field like me.
You can
lay
say,
people.
take an abnormal person and make it normal, so I get it.
Maybe like one abnormal to another abnormal, because that's me. Thanks to that. I thought that was a really great job. Hope the public appreciates the effort that went into that and the information, more importantly. Let's see. Also went to, as Lou mentioned, I went to the All District Chorus and the EBHS Orchestra Family Concert, which also incorporated the wind ensemble from the band students and the honors of the concert choir from the choral program. And it was the first time that anyone that I talked to could remember that all 3 groups were on stage at the same time. It was amazing. I think that's a good indication of the willingness of our teachers to innovate and come up with new things for our students to do, and the ability of our students just to rise to the occasion, because having 3 different ensembles playing together at once in such harmony is quite difficult. On Saturday, the 22nd, from 1 to 3 o'clock, the EB Arts Coalition and Playhouse 22 are sponsoring an Intro to the Theater event for our families with differently abled children. And the whole purpose is to give them a chance to enjoy a movie theater experience. It looks to be a great opportunity, for those kids. And there are other activities going on there as well. And I think that's all I had. Thanks.
Cool, thank you. I wanted to give a shout out tonight to all of the students who spoke, those 3 students. They were really tremendous and so articulate and just impressive. Real quick, I'm connected to the last student, Rohan, who spoke from the perspective of the East Brunswick Sustainability Task Force. What's that? I knew it. Yeah, well, no, I mean, like, I know him, so it's cool. So we both serve on that committee together, and I am putting in one more plug. He shared it, but please do stop by the library this Sunday, from 1 to 4 for the Repair Cafe. If you have anything that sitting around and broken, give it a try. Come on out, and we'll be there, and maybe Lou, maybe one of those old sequin shirts of yours from your disco days. We could stitch some of those sequins back on, but. All right. Well, anyways, it's a great community event. Great, the Sustainability Task Force and Rohan said it so much more eloquently than I could. But there's some ambitious goals there for that group that really speak to the well-being of our community as a whole. So come on out and join the fun. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to thank the East Brunswick CPAG. For February 11th, the administrators, there was a virtual town hall, and it was very well attended, and there was a lot of information regarding transition, especially to Hughes next year, because I know that there's a lot of concern because there is a large number of special education students transitioning to Hughes together. So thank you to the administration. They really put a lot of work into it, and it was a really good presentation. The next event is on March 23rd, which is the Transition Resource Fair, and that is from 6 to 8. That's going to be held at the East Brunswick Library, so definitely check that out if you're able to. And I also like to thank everybody for staying late today. As I look, it's like 11:20, so thank you for hanging in there with us, and I feel like it's a month until our next meeting, and it is, and so I hope everybody has a nice month. Yeah.
You're not
Yes.
we're going to be here till 1 o'clock in the morning every Thursday.
We like hanging out together.
Thank you.
Well, since it was Churchill night, I'm going to call out the Churchill Percussion Ensemble, which will be performing tomorrow at the New Jersey Music Educators Association. They were selected because it's an audition thing. And they're one of only 2 lower school, being a junior high school or a middle school, that were selected to perform. Most of the times it's high schools and college groups. And so I'm going tomorrow to cheer them on.
Okay, I think that's all. I won't keep us here, but thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Mammon. I know I say this every time we meet, but like every week it feels like it's been a year because of how much work goes on behind the scenes. And I'm grateful for our board to piggyback off what Lou was saying earlier. Like I really keep going, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, you're the horse. Okay, that is all. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, wow. I think that was Lori, then Wilbur. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? You guys are already walking away. We didn't even. Motion carries.